This is totally 100% the first time I've started streaming. This is totally where the VOD started. And I'm on time. These are both totally true statements. So the first two of those were not ticks. Yeah, I am going to play a game, read a book today. I don't know. An old friend from a long time ago made a Facebook post saying he wrote a book and it's a game / made a game and it's a book. So I'm told that is called an interactive novel. So I have tagged accordingly, but I don't know, we'll see what it is. I haven't previewed it at all. All I previewed was that it is a browser game, so that's good. It's called Infinite Lunch. I know it's horror because that's what River said. That's all I got. Are you the lunch? Ooh, I don't know. We'll see. Hi, Flips. Do you like horror games in general? Depends. I don't like jump scares, but taking like it's a video game but it's a book, I'm guessing there's not going to be able to be any jump scares. Like I can do minor jump scares. We played a game called, it was a game jam game. By the way, in 50 minutes, River has his first meeting with his team for a game jam that is going on. It's his first ever game jam. He's never made a game before. Really excited. I'm excited to play that on stream, whatever it ends up being. I don't even know what the theme is. So that's really exciting. But yeah, a game jam game called Aeronoctosis. ERONOCTOSIS. And it's abstract, but I think you're like fighting these monsters and like trying to put yourself back together. And whenever like they catch up to you, it says like, do not be seen, don't be perceived, whatever. So I'm told that it's like, it's about trying to put yourself back together after sexual assault. All of the monsters are like genitalia monsters. Same. Jump scares are not fun to me, but the tension is fun. Yeah, I like tension. But yeah, so anyway, like the only jump scares in that game are just when the monsters come out from behind a corner, but like they're slow. So it's fine. I assume there's gonna be music. If there's not, that's quite the oversight. So I'm gonna pause my music, and then if there's no music, I'm gonna game saves. I'm guessing by the lack of music now, yes. I really would like to know if I'm missing out on something. Oops. But I don't think I can be. I just would think that there would be music. This dude loves adding music to things. Yeah, I'm gonna play some music real quick. Okay. You stand alone on the sidewalk gazing through a deli window. Go inside deli. Enter deli. The bell over the counter gives a tired jingle as you step inside. We got soup of the day, chicken noodle, cold cuts. I think this might be Maybe formatted weird? No. It just looks crunched. A long refrigerated case stretches along one wall, packed with meats, cheeses, and containers. Behind the counter sits a register. Behind the register sits absolutely nobody. You wait. Nothing happens. You clear your throat and address the void. Hello? A crackly voice. Hello. A voice immediately answers. You freeze. Is someone here? The speaker hums. Sure. Sure? I mean, yeah. You glance behind the counter. Nothing. You start walking slowly along the length of... Now I'm making sure that everything can be seen. You start walking slowly along the length of the deli, searching for the owner of the voice. Where are you? I'm here. Yeah, but where? I'm around. Don't worry about it. You continue searching. No employee emerges. Then you notice it. A large gray speaker sitting on the counter. So where are you? I'm here. I already told you that. You are most obviously not. Your voice is coming from this speaker. A pause. Oh, okay. Guess you got me there. Another pause. I'm in the back. Are you lying? The way you said that made it sound like you were lying. I'm not lying. You waited a real long time to answer that. No, I didn't. How can you hear me? Psst. Are you going to order? A line is starting to form behind you. You turn. The deli remains completely empty, not a soul in sight. What are you talking about? There's no one here. It's an expression. Is it? Sure is. I've never heard it. It's regional. You decide to move on. Yeah. Can I get a cup of soup? Out of soup. What? We are out of soup. How are you out of soup? It's a deli. A lot of people like the soup. Is it my fault soup is delicious? You pinch the bridge of your nose. Can I get a salad? The speaker emits a low hiss. We are out of salad. You're lying. I'm not. I'm being for real. Okay. What do you have? What do you have? What do you want? I wanted soup and a salad. We are out of soup. I know. Okay. What do you have? What do you want? What do you have? I assure you, we have lots of things. You decide this conversation has become unproductive. You wander the store. Drinks, chips, pickles. Where are you going? You jump. Oh my God, can you see me? No. Are you lying? I can't see you. You reach toward a plastic wrapped meat. Don't touch that. You whirl around. So you can see me. I assure you, the speaker crackles. I can not. You return to the counter. Okay. Grilled cheese. I'll need to go check. Time passes. Finally, the speaker clicks on. Yeah, we're out of grilled cheese. You experience an emotion so powerful that it briefly leaves the visible spectrum. Do you have toast? Yeah, we got toast. Can I have 2 pieces of toast? Sure. Can I have cheese on that? Sure thing. Your left eye begins to twitch. Course clear, back to menu. Okay. Interesting. Psych! Okay. Okay. So I clicked by the window. I see. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so table for 1, yes. Where would you like to sit? A booth. A booth, huh? Well, let me ask you something. Could you imagine 2 teenagers using a telephone booth to move through time? Pretty crazy. Or how about this? Some British person using a British telephone booth to travel through British time. Sorry? What if I told you there is a way to take our lives now and put them in a time where they wouldn't usually be? Time travel? I'm telling you, with my device, from our present, we can live our lives in a time before us, in the past. Time travel. I prefer to think of it more as traveling using time. Mine is cleaner. Think about it. Being in the past and doing everything you could dream of, you could have a chat with John Adams. You could give Sam Patch a high five. You could have tea with Queen Victoria. Yeah, that would be pretty wild. A high five to Sam Patch. That would be the one. That would be the one for me, to see the Yankee Leaper in action and give him a high five. Ugh, can you imagine? Okay. Let's do it, you and me. Let's throw caution to the wind and go meet the Jersey Jumper. Meet him and give him a high five. What do you say? To be honest, I'm not really that excited to meet Sam Patch. Oh, I understand. Of course, the daring Yankee is not for everyone for sure. Well, will you excuse me? Please stay here. I'll be right back. Wait patiently. An hour passes. Wait longer. Another hour passes. You get up to check on me and find a note on the kitchen table with your name on it. Read note. Hello, you classy pal. In the short time we have had, you have truly made your mark on my life. For this, I am forever grateful. Our memories all come rushing back to me. You choosing Booth, us talking about Sam Patch with a great passion, and the rest. Sadly, I must leave you now, only with these words and a request. I implore you to live your life to the fullest, dance like no one is watching, and honor your pledge that we made to go back in time to high five Sam Patch. Do not forsake your vow. Also, I lied about having a traveling used time machine, so you will have to make that first. Set down note. Step 1. Invent a time machine. You set the letter back on the kitchen table and notice, directly next to you, a door with a message taped on it, written in shaky, impatient black marker. Only for Booth buddies. Open door. You pull the handle, and the door creaks open to reveal a narrow, splintered wooden staircase descending into the dark. The air that rushes up to meet you is thick with the scent of stagnant time, a mix of dry rot, basement dampness, and the lingering synthetic sweetness of Glacier Bay cologne. Turn on flashlight. As you step down, your flashlight cuts through the gloom, illuminating the cellar floor. Okay. And? Yes? Okay. Okay. Oh, fuck. I guess you scroll? In the corner, a stack of translucent neon blue plastic storage bins, the kind with the clunky, snapping handles, are overflowing with tangled nests of white-cabled computer mice and thick gray VGA cords. I don't think it was scrollable before. Okay, translucent neon blue plastic storage bins are overflowing with tangled nests of white-cabled computer mice and thick gray VGA cords. A silver Nokia brick lay on top a harvest gold and burnt orange plaid love seat. A stack of burnt CDRs labeled in silver Sharpie with titles like Sweet and Sexy, Summer Mix, and Let's Rock. A frayed glow-in-the-dark star sticker still clings to the side of a rusted mini fridge, its luminescence long since extinguished. Heavy silence of the basement. Continue to browse. Your eyes drift away from the clutter toward the far corner of the room. There, nestled against the damp foundation, stands a heavy, imposing door. While it is painted with an impeccable, master-crafted finish, mimicking the grain and knots of ancient oak, you can tell by the way the light dies against its surface that it is made of solid, cold-rolled metal. It sits flush against the wall, lacking even a traditional keyhole. Investigate. Yeah, it's not scrollable, for the record. Mounted at waist height on the rough brick beside it is a sleek, out-of-place keypad. The plastic cover is clean, entirely devoid of the dust coating everything else in the room. A small, rhythmic red light blinks in the center, waiting for the 7-digit passcode that will break the seal. Use keypad. Oh boy. Yeah, what do we think the 7-digit code is? Infinite? No. Fuck off, bitch. How is this lunch, by the way? This one's not lunch. No, we haven't had any numbers yet. I'm just giving it a cold guess. I mean, yeah, I'll have to. I will hit not sure yet, but I just thought it would be fun to try to give it a cold guess. It also doesn't have to be numbers, it looks like. Well, it does say digit, so it is numbers. Oops, I didn't mean to pause the music. That's my bad. Oh, how are we here again? There must be some sort of hotkey where I type and it switches. 8675309. True. That must be it. Honestly, I'm gonna try it. 8675309. Verify. Nar. Okay, not sure yet. Ah! Welcome. Table for one? Yes. Great. Where would you like to sit? At the counter. At the counter? Only the coolest kids sit at the counter. Ah, thank you. Shit. I have to stand. I have to stand up. I didn't think of that. Damn it. I'm remoting into my laptop. It's before I pulled it over here far enough that I could put the right. Let me fix it. True. Creepy crackles. If only I could have manifested that when the crackly voice was going. Okay. At the counter? Only the coolest kids sit at the counter. You pull down your sunglasses and say, "Oh yeah?" as you hear the DJ start up the track. DJ, you say. You pull down your sunglasses and say, "Oh yeah?" as you hear the DJ start up the track. Okay, so this time it's still not scrollable. Oh, you click on the text. Oh, I see. Okay, Kanga Boomer, kids TV show theme song number 43203. Wait, that's 5. Yo, it's me, Kanga Boomer, coming at you live from my island getaway. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go. Okay, I can't believe this is making me do this. I'm a rule with a plan, hanging with my friends, hopping through the neighborhood, the fun never ends. We got a junkyard band. Wait, we got a junkyard band, but yeah, we play all day, hitting trash can drums in a funky, fresh way. But when the moon comes out, I change my style. I transform into a boat. I'm versatile. Cruise the water. I check the shore, stopping litter in the ocean. Don't throw no more. He's a Kanga Boomer. Yeah. Keeping it green. Okay, we can't have singing in our backing track. That's not how that works. He's a Kanga Boomer. All right. Okay. He's a Kanga Boomer. He must be seen. He's a boat on the water. He's a rock star too. Kanga Boomer's coming and he's looking for you. Listen up close. Why is this so short or so slow suddenly? Listen up close, because I got a little tip. Take your toothbrush out and get a firm grip. Brush your teeth every morning and before you go to bed. Keep them shiny and bright. You heard what I said. Use your imagination. Let your brain run free. You can build a whole world imaginarily. There you go. If you can dream it, you can do it, and you'll be fine. Just like the race to the moon in 1969. Oh gosh. People talk about the space race. Was it worth the cost? Some people say it was money and time we lost. But I say it was special. It gave our spirits flight. Oh god. It lifted up the nation and made the future look bright. It wasn't just the moon, it was the pride that we felt. A lesson for all and the cards we dealt. So remember the lesson, stay cool and stay true. Brush those teeth and keep the water clean too. Kanga Boomer is out, sailing off into the night. Keep dreaming big, and the importance of Sputnik is often overlooked. Cartoon sound effect, loud kangaroo boing, and a boat whistle, and a synth pop pew pew laser sound. Yeah! Kanga Boomer out! It was more than worth the cost of the space race. I'm gonna call River real quick. Oh, Can you do his eyes real quick before your meeting? Thank you. This game just made me do a rap for a kids show intro, and I'm mad about it. How? It just said the DJ cues up music and then it gives you the lyrics. And it goes, yeah, yo, it's me, Kanga Boomer, coming at you live from my island getaway. This is a funny book. This is a wordy game. Okay. Wow, that's a lot, right? And that's just season 1. What do you mean? You mean you cover a junkyard band turning into a boat to stop litter using your imagination and the importance of American space nationalism in the first season? And you plan on covering different topics in season 2? Yeah. What other topics? What? What other topics are you gonna cover? Color sequence? I sit back in my chair. I'm listening. No! Season 2 theme song! No! Oh god. It's the dock season. Woo. Ever look up at a rainbow sky and you wonder how the colors got their way up high? You got a mix up bunch of letters scattered on the floor, but you want them organized, you want to know some more? Well, there's a trick I learned while I was jamming with my band. The neatest way to line them up, the best in all the land. R-O-Y-G-B-I-B, the name you gotta know. It's a secret to the colors. It makes the rhythm flow. From the red to the violet, it's totally bodacious way to keep your colors in line and brighten up your day. Hey, is this music gonna keep having singing in it? Because I need it to not. Just take those letters and put them in this crew. R is for red, the first one to come through. O is for orange, yellow is for yellow bright. G is for green, standing tall and looking right. Then comes B for blue, and I is indigo. Found on this page, and V is violet. The last one on stage. Now some folks say it's just a list, but I think it's pretty cool. It's like a rainbow roadmap or a logic learning tool. If your letters are all colored, just line them in that row. From the top of the spectrum, watch the order grow. It's organized, it's tidy, it's the way we like to live, with a little bit of help from good old Roy G. Biv. Oh, it's Roy G. Biv. The name you gotta know. It's a secret to the colors. The rhythm, it makes the rhythm flow. It's a way to order colors. And the letters you could say to keep your colors in a line the 7-digit way. So remember, kids, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. You can organize individual letters you may find in various stories in this order. Oh. Stay bodacious. It is. You're right. You're absolutely right. Kanga Boomer chuckles and gives a thumb up as the screen freezes in a 90s star wipe. I think I did plenty of chuckles during the song. Alright, don't tell me I gotta do another one.
Would you call this a visual novel type game?
I would call it a visual novel type game, yes. Yeah. Although, I don't know if it's that. I mean, sometimes it's visual, but right now it's not. It is mostly text. Colors are important. Look, I'm not saying they're not important. Colors are all around us. Yeah, well, the long-term effects of America's identity due to ever-mounting pressure to reach out and touch lunar surface also reverberate in our current day, don't they? Well, what do you got for season 3? Oh, thank God. Course clear, back to menu. Okay, I can turn the music back down now. Holy shit. Alright, let's do the Roy G. Biv thing, eh? In a booth. Time travel. Let me check, like, scrolling. Make sure I couldn't scroll. Oh, also, this P is highlighted, and I just assumed that it was, like, a formatting error, but now knowing that there are, like, clues... Oh, that there are clues and stuff, I'm wondering if the P is important for something. Oh shit, okay, we got C and P. Investigate, use keypad. Okay. Roy G. Biv. That's, oh, because it says 7 digits, doesn't it? Yeah. Invalid code? Is it case sensitive? Nope. We really thought. Huh. Wow. Wow. We really thought. Yeah, that's too bad. The hackers? Hey, I'm gonna make this, like, cool looking. Hang on. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be right. Were the C and P the same color or different? C and P? Really? It was different? I thought they were both orange. I still feel like Roy G. Biv has to be something. Okay, G... R... No. Alright. Whatever. Alright, we did all of... Yeah. Let's just check the by the window one. You stand alone on the sidewalk, blah, blah, blah. Ha ha ha. Wow, wow, wow. Nuggets, nuggets. True. Ha ha ha, bitch. You could suck my nuggets. Really? Is that so? Okay, the C is green. You're absolutely right. What a good eye. So we're gonna hit no, right? Like now it's a table for multiple. Table for 1. No. Okay, well, this is the kind of setup for the whole experience, right? I don't know, maybe not. Whoa, pretty cocky answer. You seem a bit too cool for school. Are you the hunting a goodwill type of cool? Or are you more of the tell me about it, stud type of cool? Yeah, do you like apples? Don't touch it. Stagler's voice cut through the wind a half second too late. Daveler had already grabbed the apple. The branch snapped back violently as she twisted the fruit free from the crooked limb above her head. For a moment, the entire tree shuddered. Not naturally, but like something waking up from a nightmare. Pale leaves rattled together overhead. Then, the apple glowed. A warm gold shimmer spilled between Daveler's fingers. All 4 members of the Dawn Wardens stopped dead on the hilltop path. Even Trundle stopped talking, which, Winifred often claimed, was proof of real magic. Oh, Winifred whispered with delighted horror. That is absolutely not normal. The valley below them groaned. A fog cleared through the dark pines beneath the hill, thick as swamp water, carrying the rotten smell of the hollowing. The sickness had eaten this land for some time now. Rivers blackened first, then crops, then people. Entire villages wandered into the woods, smiling, and never returned. But somehow, this tree still lived. One tree, one apple, right in the middle of cursed country. Dabbler turned the fruit slowly in her hand. Her expression remained as unreadable as ever, though Stagler noticed the slight tightening in her jaw. "We leave," he said immediately. Winifred groaned. "You always say that right before interesting things happen." Interesting things are usually fatal, but not always fatal. Enough times. The sorceress stepped closer to the tree anyway, blue robes dragging through wet grass. Just checking my levels real quick. Tiny sparks danced from her fingertips as she studied the bark. She murmured. Roots healthy, sap alive, no visible hollowing. "That's impossible," said Stagler. "Well, yes," Winifred replied. "That's why it's exciting." Behind them came the clattering crash of metal. Trundle had overturned half his traveling cart while scrambling toward Dabbler. "Don't eat that!" the goblin shrieked. Dabbler squinted at him. "I wasn't going to." "Good. Could be cursed." "You sell cursed knives." "Professionally cursed," Trundle corrected. "Different field." The goblin snatched a pair of cracked spectacles from his belt and shoved them onto his face. One lens was green, the other appeared to be stained with soup. He peered at the apple intensely. "Oh, that's bad." Stagler folded his arms. "Specifics?" "I don't have specifics," Trundle admitted. "I have instincts. Goblin instincts. Very expensive normally." "You've been wrong every time," Dabbler said. "Not true. I correctly identified that haunted bridge. You told us it was a dragon. There were similarities." Wind swept over the hilltop again. Only this time, it carried whispers. Very faint, like distant voices speaking underwater. The Dawn Wardens immediately went silent. Dabbler's hand drifted toward the sword on her back. Stagler unsheathed his blade halfway with practiced calm. Winifred looked delighted. Trundle hid inside his own cart. The whispers came again. Not from the valley, but from beneath the ground. I don't think this music fits this one. Sorry, I keep breaking the, vibes, and I apologize for that. I just want to make sure that we're keeping it accurate, you know. Okay. The whispers came again. Not from the valley, from beneath the ground. The earth around the tree had begun to pulse. We are in ads. I'm going to politely wait until ads finish to continue. I'm really enjoying this. I'm having a lot of fun. I'm glad I've been reading every Wednesday, because otherwise this would be way too much reading and I would get such fatigue. It was that I could only read for 10 minutes before I got really fatigued and started tripping over my words, but I think what also helps is that there are breaks in between the reading in this versus when I'm reading a book straight through. Welcome back from ads. I shall continue. The black veins spread through the grass in branching lines, creeping outward from the roots like cracks in glass. Wherever they touched, flowers shriveled instantly. "The hollowing found us," Stagler muttered. "No," Winifred said quietly. Her playful tone had vanished. She pointed at the apple in Davler's hand. I think it found that. The golden glow inside the fruit brightened suddenly. Then, something moved beneath the hill. A massive shape shifted under the soil with the sound of grinding stone. The tree's branches twisted violently overhead. Trundle screamed first, mostly because a skeletal hand had burst from the dirt beside his cart. "Fork!" the goblin yelled, immediately throwing a frying pan at it. The pan exploded on impact. A burst of green fire engulfed the skeletal arm. Everyone stared at Trundle. He puffed out his chest proudly. "Told you that one worked." The ground erupted. More hands crawled upward through the blackened earth, dozens of them slick with mud and root vine rot. Undead cryptoids, farmers, travelers, soldiers. Their empty mouths hung open as the whispers poured from them in one terrible chorus. Davler stepped forward first. Always first. She drew the massive barbed sword from her back in a single motion, steel flashing silver in the dying light. "Winifred," she said calmly, "burn the roots." "With pleasure." Purple fire ignited around the sorceress's hands. Stagler planted himself beside Davler like a fortress wall. "Protect the bearer," he ordered. "The bearer?" Davler asked. Stagler nodded toward the apple. "You picked it, which means every cursed thing beneath this hill apparently wants you dead." Davler stared at the glowing fruit for one brief moment. Then, she shoved it into her satchel and raised her sword. Below them, the undead began climbing the hill. The first undead reached Davler 3 heartbeats later. It lunged from the mud, with a jaw full of roots. Use Bab's sword, level 5, to attack the hollowed. Strike! Critical hit! Davler split it in half. Her blade crashed downward with enough force to carve into the earth beneath the creature, spraying black soil across the hillside. The corpse convulsed once before collapsing into loose vines and rotten bones. 3 more climbed over it immediately. "Little busy!" Winifred shouted. "Summon level 2 Gladrunk's Rage spell." Gladrunk's Rage. Purple fire explodes from her outstretched hands in a roaring arc that engulfed the charging dead. The flames burned strangely bright against the dark fog, turning them into twitching silhouettes before they crumbled apart. The sorceress grinned. "Oh, that felt good." "Focus!" barked Stagler. The knight slammed his shield into another corpse hard enough to break its neck sideways. He fought with brutal efficiency, every strike measured, every movement exact. No wasted energy, no flourish. He had been battling the hollowing longer than any of them. Long enough to know hesitation got people buried. Or worse. Behind the line of warriors, Trundle frantically jogged through his cart. "I know I packed more explosives," the goblin muttered. "Where are the explosions?" A skeletal farmer clawed toward him through the grass. Without looking, Trundle grabbed a rusted hammer and hurled it over his shoulder. The hammer struck the undead directly in the forehead. There was a blinding flash. Suddenly, 6 chickens appeared. Everyone paused. The chickens scattered in every direction. Stagler slowly turned toward the goblin. Trundle looked offended. That was mislabeled. The hill shook violently again. This time, nobody lost balance except Trundle, who disappeared headfirst into his own cart, with a scream of alarm and clattering cookware. Davler planted her sword into the earth to steady herself. The whispers beneath the hill had become louder now. Not whispers anymore. Prayers. Hundreds of voices speaking together beneath the soil in a language none of them understood. Winifred's smile faded. "That's deeply upsetting." Black cracks spread through the ground around the apple tree. Thick roots burst upward like grasping fingers, tearing apart the hillside as they rose. And then the tree moved. Not swaying, moving. The ancient trunk splits open slowly down the center with a wet cracking sound. Golden sap bled from inside. The entire orchard hill groaned as the entire orchard hill groaned like a waking giant. Davler stared upward. That wasn't a tree. No, said Stagler grimly. It was a seal. The trunk tore apart immediately. Completely. Something enormous began dragging itself upward from beneath the roots. At first, all they saw was antler. A massive black antler covered in moss and writhing vines emerged from the pit below. Then another, then a skull, larger than a wagon, its bone surface cracked with glowing golden fractures. The creature's eyes opened. Burning amber light spilled across the hill. The undead immediately stopped moving. Every corpse on the hillside dropped to its knees. Even the fog seemed to recoil. Winifred stared upward in awe. Oh, that is definitely ancient. Stagler's expression had gone pale beneath his beard. I know this creature. Davler glanced at him. You do? I know the stories. The knight tightened his grip on his sword. The Root King. The name seemed to ripple through the air itself. Far below them, the valley answered with distant screams. The towering smoking creature dragged itself halfway from the earth, revealing a body of bark, bone, and tangled roots thicker than the castle walls. Broken chains hung from its limbs, half buried between centuries of stone and dirt. Spears, the size of ballista bolts, protruded from its ribs. Ancient runes burned across its skull like prison marks. Trundle finally resurfaced from inside the cart, holding a glass bottle filled with bubbling blue liquid. Good news, He stopped short, seeing the massive beast. Oh, Forg. Hi, Tango. Thanks for coming by. I felt weird DMing you, but I'm like, oh, maybe you'd be interested. I don't know. So, okay. I don't know if you noticed, Plips. There was a capital E that is yellow. So far we have C, P, and E. I feel like, is this not like the last part of the story? Until we figure out the code? Yeah, okay, wait. If I say no... Oh, okay, yeah, I have it done. Yeah, I guess you are right. Yes. Thank you for taking notes. Okay, sick. Yeah, it's his exact words were, I wrote a book and it's a game. I made a game and it's a book. So, you know, if you want to play or read it. Okay, well, this is kind of the setup of the whole experience, right? Yeah, I guess you're right. Hey, thanks for understanding, bro. No prob, bro. Yeah, that was my bro, all right. Piper, the Roo Dog, standing there in the pool bar at Troy and Timber Alpine Resort with water up to his abs, reflective shades on even though it was getting toward evening, holding a blue Brundle kombucha slushie like he was in a commercial for being hydrated. If somebody painted a picture of freedom, but also protein... Yes, I would like to know the colors. Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're just doing all the work for me. I don't know if I like that, but it moves things along. And it's more fun that way, isn't it? Okay. If somebody painted a picture of freedom, but also protein intake, it probably would have looked exactly like Rue Dog right then. The whole sky looked orange and expensive. That's the thing about brocation. It changes a dude internally. Spiritually too, probably, like in religion. Bro, you spend enough cycles grinding at the office, moving pre-owned inventory for dad's service, and eventually your soul just gets all desiccated like turkey meat in a microwave. For real. My dad always said, inventory never sleeps, which is honestly toxic when you think about it. I love my dad, I'm just saying. It's wild because we're all just locked into the family trade stuff, making sure the flow stays on for the neighborhood, which sounds like I'm flexing maybe, but honestly, it's like stressful because they're always calling out invoice numbers and saying things like, you boys need grit. Meanwhile, it's a trip how getting remarried to a woman named Crystal and a pellet smoker obsession has become the uniform requirement for that generation. Pit boss for the win. So, we needed this. The bros needed a getaway. Needed the club, needed the pool, needed to reconnect with our internal vibes. There was me, obviously. I'm not going to over-describe myself because humble guys don't really do that, but my shoulders had looked unbelievable lately from the incline work I'd been doing at my mom's house, and the pool lights just turned on to hit my traps correctly. Then there was Piper, the Rue Dog, who honestly had the confidence of a Greek god if Greek gods were bomb chain necklaces and knew a ton about macros. Russ was there too. Russ always had this mysterious thing going on where I think he either likes paintings or does paintings. Either way, I always think artists seem mysterious because they're thinking about how to paint the world that the rest of us are just living in. Then Yuke, who was probably the chillest out of all of us. Yuke had divorced stepdad energy, except, never being divorced or a stepdad. But he was well into his late 30s and obviously just got over having shingles. He gave good advice a lot, and he made a video where he did the Snyder Cut Affleck workout. That was pretty dope. And then Ken. Absolute psycho for hydration science. Ken could turn any conversation into electrolytes. We were shoulder to shoulder in the submerged bar stools while music played from hidden speakers under fake rocks nearby. The water glowed turquoise from pool lights beneath us, making everyone look cinematic and rich. Honestly, the whole scene looked like if Gatsby had locked in and started taking reps seriously. Laura! Rue Dog called. Our waitress friend Laura walked over the window, the shallow water carrying tray balanced on one hand like some kind of beach wizard. She was super chill. Didn't act annoyed. Even though Ken had a ton of questions about the new energy drinks in rotation that she had to ask her manager Bran about. You boys ready? She asked. Rue leaned back dramatically. Hit me with Hyper Surge. Again? Laura laughed. Hydration isn't a joke, Laura. I'm cutting right now. She turned to me. What about you? I looked toward the volleyball game for a second before answering, because sometimes you gotta act thoughtful around sunsets. Honestly, I'm feeling something tropical but performance-based. She nodded immediately somehow. I got you. That's why Laura was elite. Russ ordered a mango surge splash. Butte got something called a total typhoon, which honestly caught my eye. Ken got a tiger slide, which Laura said wasn't technically on the menu anymore. He ordered an app for the crew. Then, drinks came out glowing different colors like radioactive gym smoothies. And an energy-blasted typhoon shake enhancer for you, Jeff, she said, handing me my drink. Brewdog lifted his glass first. To the bros! To the bros, we all answered. And honestly, in that moment, I felt something. Not like emotions, exactly, but adjacent. Oh, we got a purple L. The pool water lapped against waist, while the sun melted over the TNT parking lot. Around us were rich tourists and dudes with shark tattoos, but our table had a vibe stranger than all of them combined. You can't buy authentic bro chemistry like that. It's forged over years of helping each other move adjustable benches and listening to Power Man 5000. Gary keeps texting me, Yuke said. Text alert. Now message. Mom's new boyfriend. New message. Mom's new boyfriend. Have you seen Blown Away? Dude, your stepdad sucks, Ken said. Yeah. Dude said he wants me to start asking him to learn baseball and stuff. Wow. He bought me special shoes to use when we play. Let's do this one. Make sure everything's in order. Just to checking. Okay. He bought me special shoes to use when we play. Brewdog sipped his Nitro Bolt carefully. My stepdad Brad told me I need to start buying my own edamame. He says it's taking up too much space in the freezer. Silence fell over us. Not angry silence, just disappointed. He doesn't even know what he's saying, Ken finally said. Thanks, man. Laura returned carrying a plate of protein nachos. Careful, she warned. The chips are made out of cheese. God, yes, said Rue instantly. That's the thing people don't get about us. We contain depths. I remember looking around that pool bar thinking maybe this was what life was actually supposed to be. Warm night air, a Ditto remix in the air, the boys sharing a nutrient-dense snack in 82-degree chlorinated water. Ken leaned forward, seriously. You guys think sea salt hits different spiritually? And for a while, nobody answered. Because, honestly, it kind of did. Course clear. Okay, I think I've done everything. Except I already forgot. So we have, okay. Yeah. Green, purple, black, golden, amber, blue. The colors of the letters. Okay. So G, V. Oh, but black isn't one of the colors. Okay, wait. G, V. Oh! No, you're so right. Okay. So then it's C, L, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. CLLEEPC. Okay, I'm gonna. Hi, Nilf. I'm gonna I'm gonna type those in, I guess. So it's in a booth. I said CLLEEP. We don't have a blue. Ah. Shit, dog. Well, let's just pretend it's B and see what happens. I don't think anything will happen, but CLL. Okay, let's verify that. No, it's not right. But I definitely think... I think we're onto it. I think you're absolutely right. I'm gonna save XPE XXXL. Where are you getting XPE XXXL? That's special. Sure. That would give us an A and an I that we didn't see. Okay. Oh my god! You're brilliant, Keys. Anything I can get you? No thank you. That's fine. I appreciate your note-taking that you were able to do. Driven by this new perspective, you decide to leave the past behind and build your own place, a haven that is distinct, better, and entirely your own. The early days prove grueling. The silence in your shop is deafening, and for a long, painful stretch, not a single customer walks through your door. Keep having to change the music back and forth. For a long, painful stretch, not a single customer walks through your door. Just as the weight of failure begins to crush your resolve, when your first sale finally steps across the threshold. That first transaction is electric, igniting a fierce drive within you and turning your lingering uncertainty into a relentless pursuit of growth. Your venture quickly gains momentum, and before long, business is booming, bringing in profits that exceed your wildest expectations. With wealth beyond measure, your personal life begins to blossom as you marry and welcome children into the world. You begin to channel your excess capital into creative passion projects, finding deep fulfillment in the work. The venture evolves into a true family business. And as you stand at the pinnacle of your success, life feels perfect. A rare existence when nothing hurts. Despite this perfection, a hollow ache develops, and you realize you have lost the simple, unburdened joy of those early, hungry days. Desperate to reclaim that feeling, you retreat to the back room to consult the old wizard who has long watched over your journey. He nods in silence, places a stone on the table, and with a sudden, thunderous wham, shatters it with a single swing of his hammer. I'm noticing a pattern of hammers and family business. He retrieves a jagged shard from the wreckage and instructs you to swallow it whole. You nod and obey, feeling the cold weight slide down your throat. A violent jolt of energy courses through you, and as you stumble toward the street to investigate, your memories of the shop, your family, and your life evaporate like mist. You stand alone on the sidewalk, gazing through a deli window. Oh my god, it's my deli. It's my deli. Go inside deli. Enter deli. The bell over the door gives a tired jingle as you step inside. Click here for Trundle's hidden treasure. What? This is green, by the way. If we're just focusing on colors, this part's green. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is definitely more than one stream's worth. Especially since I just got to a part where I would want to save. Confusing! I'm sure that contains some kind of message. Or is it an allegory? Or a fable? Wait! Am I supposed to have learned something? Trundle is the goblin. Oh look, we see Trundle. Look at that. Am I supposed to have learned something? Fuck. Yeah. Oh! Check it out. Okay, the third letter is N. Oh man, there's another code. Okay, I will take note. Okay. Third letter N. Okay. Also, remember to scroll to the bottom of selections for more Trundle. Oh. Okay. Thanks, Trundle. I'm still looking. Okay. The high manners of the dark fens. The first detective and the other detective had been driving for so long that even the headlights looked tired. The old sedan rattled through the darkness with all the confidence of a man carrying a candle into a hurricane. The road stretched ahead of them in a pair of pale yellow lines that seemed less painted onto the earth and more scratched into it by some nervous giant years ago. They drove south. The music is too loud. This is also spoiling the music for Red String Club, by the way, which I also have not finished. This one I will finish, though. Okay. They drove south. Then they drove further south. Then they drove into the sort of south that makes the regular south look like the southern part of the north. The moon had vanished hours ago behind the thick blankets of cloud. Swamp water reflected the stars where the sky could not. Strange trees leaned over the road as if attempting to overhear conversations from passing automobiles. The first detective sat behind the wheel. The other detective sat behind him. They were exhausted. They had been chasing the names DeBella and Ratman through half the country. Every lead had turned into another lead. Every witness had remembered something right as they were leaving town. Every clue had pointed toward another clue, like dominoes falling through a domino warehouse. Now, all they had was a name. A name that was usually enough. The first detective glanced through the windshield. How much farther? The other detective looked at the map. I stopped believing this map 3 counties ago. The first detective nodded. Smart. The other detective folded it. You ever notice maps always know where you've been? Sure, but never know where you're going. That's why they're maps. The other detective grinned. God, I gotta stop doing that. I'll accidentally put my thumb on the trackpad and so it'll switch from the Moonlight app to whatever the Mac has open otherwise. Fuck off, bitch. Okay. That's why they're maps. The other detective grinned. That's why they're maps. That got a laugh. Not a big laugh, just enough to stay awake. Outside the car, the dark fens stretched for miles. Now there was a piece of country with a story attached to it. Every inch of land worth standing on has one. The dark fens had once been rich, not the way a man gets rich. Rich, the way a kingdom gets rich. The soil had been black and fertile. Rivers carried trade from one end of the territory to the other. Great fortunes had grown from the ground itself. Stone barons built grand halls, iron magnates raised towers, merchant princes built manors large enough to house entire villages. Money had poured through these lands like spring rain. And then, as often happens, people got greedy. Funny thing about greed, people imagine it looks like a monster. It doesn't. Most of the time, it looks like a fella saying, just one more. One more field, one more mine, one more fortune. The forests disappeared. The waterways shifted. The soil weakened. The roots that held the land together vanished. And eventually, the earth itself got tired of being exploited. The ground softened. Water rose. Roads sank. Fields became marshes. Marshes became the fens. And the fens swallowed everything they could reach. The great families remained. Of course they remained. People with old money can survive almost anything, except running out of old money. They stayed inside their crumbling estates, drinking from silver cups inherited from ancestors who actually earned them. They sat beneath portraits of dead relatives. They hosted parties nobody attended. They argued about traditions nobody remembered. But every year, their roofs leaked a little more. The first detective looked out across a stretch of black water. You think people still live out there? The other detective sighed. People live everywhere. Why? No refunds. The road narrowed. The trees thickened. The swamp crept closer. Soon it felt less like they were driving through a landscape and more like they were being tolerated by one. The air outside was wet, like somebody had soaked the place in bath water and left it in the tub. The radio hissed with static. At last, they saw it. A pair of rusted iron gates, with one hung open. The other had fallen completely off its hinges years ago and lay half submerged in reeds. A weathered stone marker stood beside the entrance, letters carved into it. The headlights illuminated them. Le beau cauchemar restera mon sang. I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know. The first detective whistled. The other detective stared. That's cheerful. What does it mean? It means we're here. The road beyond the gate wound through ancient trees, and the gravel crunched beneath the tires. Then they saw the estate. Boy, howdy. Now there was a house. The thing rose from the darkness like a stranded ocean liner. White columns towered over a broad front porch. Windows boarded, others glowed faintly. Vines climbed the walls, statues in the gardens. The fountain in front had long ago stopped functioning. Now it held stagnant water and lily pads. The detectives parked. For a moment, neither moved. The first detective looked at the house. The other detective looked at the house. The house looked back. "Bad feeling?" asked the first detective. The other detective nodded. "Good. Why good?" The first detective opened his door. "Bad feelings are evidence." The other detective smiled. They climbed the front steps, and the boards groaned beneath their weight. A bronze door knocker hung from the entrance. It was shaped like a weeping angel. The first detective struck it 3 times. The sound echoed through the mansion. Somewhere deep inside came movement. Locks turned, chains rattled, bolts slid. The door opened. The butler looked as though he had been born old. Tall, thin, perfect posture, gray suit, gray hair, gray eyes, gray expression. His face possessed the sort of neutrality that takes decades of practice. "We're conducting an investigation." The butler nodded once. "Of course you are." The other detective frowned. "You knew we were coming?" The butler stepped aside. The detectives entered. The foyer stretched upward 3 stories. A chandelier hung overhead. Portraits lined the walls. Generations of severe-looking family members stared downward. The butler led them deeper into the house. The place smelled like old flowers. Rooms branched off in every direction. They passed a library whose shelves bowed beneath thousands of untouched books. A music room containing 3 pianos. A dining hall large enough to host a mayoral election. A hallway filled entirely with clocks. None agreed on the time. That was when they heard laughter. Not happy laughter, not sad laughter. The kind that appears when somebody has spent a very long time alone with their own thoughts. A sound drifted from above. Music volume is hard. I feel like every little section of this, I need different music and different levels. And that's fine, but it just keeps pausing the momentum. Okay. A sound drifted from above. Then came footsteps. Then silk. Then perfume. Then a woman descended the staircase. She could not have made a normal entrance if her life depended on it. She wore 3 layers of beaded lace and velvet. Jewelry glittered from every finger. Pearls hung from her neck. Emeralds hung from the pearls. Something that might have been a brooch or might have been a small bird sat upon her shoulder. Her silver hair rose into an architectural achievement. Her makeup belonged to another decade, possibly another century. Her smile flashed brightly. Her eyes flashed brighter. Those eyes had seen fortunes rise and collapse, and somehow found the entire process entertaining. "My goodness!" Her voice filled the room. "Lawman!" She descended another step. "How marvelous!" Another step. "I haven't seen Lawman in ages." The first detective removed his hat. The other detective nodded politely. The woman spread her arms dramatically. "Welcome!" Another smile. Welcome to, the Le Beau Cauchemar au Restaurant Monsong. She said the name as though introducing royalty. The first detective looked around. You own all this? The woman laughed. Own? She seemed delighted by the word. My dear detective, ownership is such a temporary arrangement. The butler stood silently behind her. The detectives noticed he had appeared without making a sound. That wasn't normal. Neither was the fact that every clock in the hallway suddenly chimed at once, despite showing different times. The woman ignored it. The butler ignored it. The detectives noticed. The woman descended the final step. Come, she gestured grandly. You must be exhausted. The first detective looked toward the other detective. The other detective looked toward the first detective. Then they both looked toward the woman. She smiled. The butler waited. The house creaked. And so, the detectives followed their host deeper into the old estate, taking in its strange halls, stranger decorations, and strangest residents, learning the layout of the place while committing every odd detail to memory, because that was their job. And because, in a house like this, even the wallpaper looked like it might be hiding something. The hostess drifted through the echoing, cavernous halls of the mansion with a regal, hollowed-out confidence of a queen returning to a kingdom she had personally managed to utter ruin. Her silk gown whispered secrets against the floorboards, a rhythmic shush-shush sound like sand slipping through an hourglass. You're arriving at a truly marvelous time, she chirped. The tone of her voice light as a moth's wing, but heavy with a hidden, jagged intent. Why's that? The first detective grunted, his hand instinctively hovering near his shoulder hoister, his eyes darting toward the shadows that seemed to pool in the corners of the ceiling like ink. Dinner, my dear man, dinner! The other detective let out a long, weary sigh, the kind that only comes after 3 days of chasing ghosts through the humid, fever-dream landscape of the fens. Good. I've been hungry since Tuesday. The hostess let out a trilling, glass-shattering laugh. Oh, I simply adore lawmen. You have such charmingly simple appetites. They arrived at the dining hall, a space so immense it felt like it required permits from 3 neighboring counties just to traverse the floor. The table stretched into the gloom, a mahogany altar draped in silver that gleamed with predatory light. Crystals sparkled like frozen tears under the flicker of a massive stone hearth, casting long, dancing shadows that looked too much like clutching fingers. The room breathed with the suffocating scent of pressed violets, wet dust, and the cloying, clinking weight of old money that had long ago forgotten the value of anything but itself. The family was already gathered, a grotesque tableau of decay. Is doing this much reading headachy? You didn't realize that the game that's a book would be this much reading? No, I mean, like, now that you ask, like, a little bit, it is a little fatiguing, but, like, I can quit whenever I want, you know? I guess I've only been at it for 2 hours. It feels a lot longer than that, but nah, it's fine. At the far end, shrouded in the gloom of a corner, sat an extremely old woman draped in layers of black lace that looked like the webs of a giant, ancient spider. Nobody introduced her. Nobody dared. Nobody seemed capable of stopping her from staring. She possessed enormous, bulbous eyes that held the glazed, unblinking expression of somebody perpetually, agonizingly remembering a singular, sharp insult dealt to them 30 years ago in the height of a humid southern summer. One of the maids, a girl with wide eyes and trembling fingers, leaned in close to the detectives as she passed, her voice a frantic, breathless whisper that barely cleared the static of the room. "Don't go minding the one in the corner. That's Miss Eulalia. She's been glued to that same velvet chair since Mama was a baby, wrapped up in that black lace like a spider waiting for a fly that's been dead since the turn of the century. Don't look in her eye. That evidence you do well to keep. She's got those great watery, bulbous eyes, the kind that don't blink, just soak up every ancient secret in the room like a sponge in a stagnant creek. She's staring clean through you, straight into your marrow. She carries that old, rotted-out insult like a holy rosary. You can see it in the way her mouth is pinched tight, like a drawstring bag full of pure, concentrated spite. She's a living, breathing-out monument to never forget and never forgive. The very air just curdles and goes sour around her, don't it? Like the light hits her and simply decides to give up and go gray. I forgot I was supposed to be doing an accent. That's okay. Upon finishing, the maid vanished into the periphery like smoke. Beside Eulalia sat a man with white hair that exploded outward from his skull like a cloud of frightened, electrified cotton. "He is very old," the butler whispered to the detectives, his voice manifesting suddenly as if he had folded himself through the very geometry of the room to appear there. Near him sat a woman draped in enough heavy, gaudy jewelry to anchor a fishing boat in a hurricane. Near him sat a woman draped in enough heavy, gaudy jewelry to anchor a fishing boat in a hurricane. One hand clutched a wine glass. The other held a small ivory opera telescope. She periodically inspected her own relatives through the lens, despite them sitting a mere 3 feet away, as if she were watching a play about people she despised. Further down sat twins, or cousins, or perhaps neither. The detectives never figured it out, and the family never offered the courtesy of an explanation. They wore identical, chalk-white suits and shared a single water glass, a single set of silverware, and a single plate of food, moving in a synchronized, unsettling harmony. Servants drifted through the room like specters. The butler appeared beside chairs, then beside walls, then beside doors. The detectives began to suspect he traveled by methods entirely unavailable to ordinary science. The hostess clapped her hands. A sharp, whip-crack sound. "Darlings!" No one reacted. She clapped louder, the sound echoing off the high, shadowed rafters. "Darlings!" I'm so sorry if I'm clipping. Several family members looked up, their faces blank. The woman beamed. "Our guests!" The family examined the detectives with a cold, calculating gaze of a hungry jury. The detectives examined the family. The family won. There were simply more of them, and they were all, in their own way, quite mad. Soup was served. A heavy ringing silence lingered in the hall. A spoon clinked against china, a sound like a hammer on a coffin nail. A cough echoed, sharp and wet. Then, suddenly, the ancient woman in black lace slammed her withered hand onto the table, sending cutlery jumping. "The soup!" she hissed. Everyone froze. "The soup!" No one moved. She pointed a gnarled, trembling finger at the bowl. Daddy knew we'd be cold. Daddy knew we'd all be cold one day. Daddy built this house because he knew deep in his bones that we'd be cold. The woman lifted a spoonful, her eyes narrowing into slits. Yet here sits the soup, cold. Cold as your heart, Lucille. She pointed accusingly at a servant in the corner. Lucille stood in the shadows, dressed in pristine, heavy silk and crisp white lace that mocked the humidity, mud, and rot of the estate. Her bright red lipstick was perfectly, aggressively untouched by the spiritual decay surrounding her. You and I both know where our bread is buttered, but you sitting here is an offense Oh, wait, sorry. You and I both know where our bread is buttered, but you sitting here is an offense to me, Lucille snapped, her voice like a razor through velvet. It's an offense to everything this family pretends to stand for. I know you had your reasons, and I had my reasons as well, but the day I look you in the eye and call you kin again is a day as old as this soup is. That is all. She resumed eating. Nobody commented. The first detective looked at the other. The other nodded. The man with the cotton white hair stood abruptly. I have something to say, he roared. I know I'm the youngest, Roberta, but I swear to hog heaven and all the saints beyond it that I never laid a finger upon your beloved Nigel. Roberta shrieked. She looked like she had been plucked from a Sunday service in 1952, wearing a floral dress that had seen a dozen tragic seasons. She smelled of oppressive talcum powder and the dried, rusty lavender she kept tucked in her linen closets. Liar! She screamed. The man pointed a finger, his hand shaking. I never touched him! He sat back down. The argument appeared settled. A ritual of ghosts. The detectives exchanged a look of pure, unadulterated dread. They didn't ask. Not yet. The soup disappeared, replaced by roasted, unrecognizable vegetables, bread, meat, and strange viscous preserves in jars that looked like they contained parts of things that should have remained buried. The first detective cleared his throat. The sound, shockingly loud in the stagnant air. So, we were given the name of this estate? Silence reigned. One of the jars passed around the table, spilled on the second detective. He was horrified at the I was making it a woman. He was horrified at the gross concoction now occupying his shirt. The butler handed him a heavy, starched, very old handkerchief, but the very gross damage was already done. The first detective shook his head and tried to continue forward. So, we are tracking two individuals, he pressed. Silence again. DeBella? Several eyes shifted. Just enough. And Chief Ratman? More eyes shifted, like vermin in the floorboards. The detectives noticed. The family noticed the detectives noticing. And so on. You get it, right? It was a dangerous game. The woman at the head of the table smiled, a slow, predatory expression. Oh my. The first detective leaned forward, his chair groaning. You know those names? The hostess sipped her wine, her fingers long and pale. I know many names. I have heard of them, yes. Where? The white-haired man spoke, his voice cracking like dry timber. You're asking the wrong questions, lawman. The answer isn't in the house. He pointed a quivering finger straight downward toward the dark, saturated earth beneath the floorboards. A murmur spread through the table, a sound like a rising tide. The first detective folded his hands, his brow furrowed. Under? The table erupted in a cacophony of shrill, hysterical laughter. It was the sound of a family that had spent too long alone with their own dark reflections. The eldest woman finally spoke, her voice a dry rasp. Daddy knew. Daddy always knew. Daddy bought the land, a cousin whispered. The swamps, the earth, the future. Whenever an entire family starts talking about someone called Daddy in that exact worshipful tone people usually reserve for saints, prophets, and miracle workers, it generally means one of two things. Either Daddy was truly remarkable, or Daddy was absolute irredeemable trouble. Usually it was both. And so the detectives sat among the descendants of forgotten fortunes, listening to the cacophony of stories, accusations, confessions, and sheer maddening nonsense, quietly learning the wretched, tangled shape of the people who called Le Beau Cauchemar song their home. Because sometimes investigating a mystery means chasing clues through the daylight. And sometimes it means sitting through dinner with 20 lunatics and trying to figure out which one, if any, are telling the truth.
Games and demos, or is this just a read?
This is games and demos. I mean, it was a game. Like, there was a whole puzzle we had to figure out. And, like, it takes you back to previous prompts to, like, click into different options. And, like, there are a lot of clues for things that we haven't reached yet. Ooh, that's really full. Thank you. Okay. The dinner service concluded, not with the clatter of plates, but with a synchronized, jarring shriek of silver against china. That seemed to vibrate in the detective's very teeth. The family rose as one, a flock of panicked birds in fine linen and rotting velvet. The hour! The hostess purred. Oh, sorry. The hour! The hostess purred, her voice a low, warning hum. The shadows are lengthening and the clock, not that you can trust any of them, insists it is time to retire. This house has its own rhythm for sleeping, and you would be wise not to interrupt the cadence. The dark is hungry, Roberta muttered, swaying like a willow in a gale. It demands its rest, and so must we. If you stay awake when the house is dreaming, you are liable to become part of the decor. The detectives were steered toward the grand staircase by the butler, whose movements remained liquid and silent. The detectives were steered toward the grand staircase by the butler, whose movements remained as liquid and silent as rising swamp water. As they climbed, the house seemed to groan around them, the floorboards complaining under their weight, as if they were stepping on old, dry bones. As they reached the landing, a hand clamped onto the first detective's sleeve. It was the woman with the opera telescope. She leaned in, her eyes frantic, darting toward the shadows. "Do not be fooled by the performance," she hissed, her voice a rapid-fire monologue of desperation. "We look like a collection of porcelain dolls, shattered and glued back together wrong, but there is a pulse beneath this floor. You think we are kin? We are strangers shackled by a name. There is a secret here, a dark, heavy thing that should have stayed buried in the mud." Hang on, let me see. "We look like a collection." No, I won't try it. Okay. "There is a secret here, a dark, heavy thing that should have stayed buried in the mud with the rest of the fortune. It is a secret that rots the walls and poisons the wells. If you have any sense at all, you will walk back down those stairs and drive until the tires burn off the rims. If you stay, you are not guests, you are ingredients. Leave now if you value your life, for this house has a way of digesting things that shouldn't be here." You were right, Flips. We may be the lunch. She shoved them away and vanished into a doorway as if she had never existed. Shaken, the detectives continued down the hallway, the air growing thick with the scent of stagnant water and ancient perfume. They had taken only a dozen steps when a door creaked open, and the youngest, the man with the frightened cotton hair, yanked them into a dark, cramped study. "Forgive the cruelty at the table," he stammered. "Oh, forgive the cruelty at the table," he stammered, his hands fluttering like trap moths. I had to act the part. This one in the lace, Lucille, she watches, she listens, she pulls the strings. She uses her own malice to make us dance like puppets on a stage of our own making. She thinks I am a fool, and that is my only defense. You are on the right track with those names, DeBella and the Chief, but for the love of all that is holy, keep your heads down. Do not ask, do not search, do not look. The rivers here run deep, and this wretched stream of blood and debt goes all the way to the bottom of the earth. If you find the bottom, you will never find your way back up." He left the room again, and again the detectives remained gobsmacked when a shadow detached itself from the wall. It was one of the servants, a man with skin the color of parched earth, and eyes that seemed to have seen every sin the family had ever committed. "I've been watching," the servant whispered, his voice smooth and transactional. "I want to help you. I want to tell you where those two names reside, where the rot truly started. But my loyalty has a price. I have spent a lifetime scrubbing the floors of this purgatory, and I am finished being a ghost in my own life. I want to rule the Bolshevik. I want to sit in that chair and watch them scramble like ants when the rain comes. You help me take the keys, I'll give you the names. You want the truth. I want the crown. Tell me, detectives, what are you willing to sacrifice to get what you came for?" Okay, I see there are a lot of things happening here, and we can come back and talk about those things, the first detective said, but we very much hear just about DeBella or Bratman and aren't really here for all these things. Do you know anything about those names, sir? The servant only smiled, a thin, jagged line of teeth in the dark. "In this house, detective, you won't get to choose what you're here for. The house chooses for you." The second detective put his hand on the first detective's shoulder. "I want you to know you are asking entirely reasonable questions, and they are answering like weird Southern poetry people. I wanted to think of something more clever to call them, but that's what I got right now. Either way, this is very frustrating." The hallway was a tomb of ticking clocks, but beneath the rhythmic, mechanical heartbeat of the house, a different sound began to bleed through the walls. It was a voice, high and thin, woven with the kind of bottomless melancholy that usually accompanies a funeral in the rain. It was a song, a wordless, spiraling lament that seemed to have no beginning and even less interest in ending. The two detectives stood motionless. The first detective let out a jagged breath, shaking his head with the weary resignation of a man who had seen too much and expected nothing good. He pointed a calloused finger toward the source of the sound. "I already know that this is just going to be nonsense. Absolute, grade A, unadulterated nonsense." The other detective leaned against a console table that groaned under his weight. "Yes, I agree completely. We both know this. We both know how this plays out, and we know exactly how little sense it's going to make." They stood there for a beat, hands planted firmly on their hips, two stone pillars of law enforcement listening to a woman recite the ghost notes of a history that should have been burned decades ago, that was overtly inviting them into Act 3, Scene 5. Okay, the first one finally muttered, his shoulders slumping as he accepted the inevitable. Well, I guess we're doing this now. We have to. They turned away from the hallway and pushed through a set of French doors that fought them, the hinges screaming in protest as they entered the garden. It was a place where nature had finally decided to win its long war against architecture. The garden was suffocating, beautiful ruin, an acre of moonlight and neglect. Ivy, thick as a man's arm, had throttled the rose bushes, dragging them down into the mulch, while iron fences stood rusted and bent, bowing under the weight of gargantuan, strangling vines. Statues of long-forgotten saints and stone barons stood in the center of the gloom, their features eroded by rain and time. The air here was heavy, cold, and unnaturally quiet, save for the rhythmic, haunting trill of the singing. Sitting upon a stone bench, half swallowed by night-blooming jasmine that smelled like rotting nectar, was the woman who had welcomed them at the door. As the detectives crunched over the dead leaves toward her, she didn't stop her song, but her posture shifted, turning toward them with a predatory, theatrical grace. I never introduced myself, did I? Where are my manners? My name, Maud. Like my song? The garden? It is truly a poetic thing, is it not? She said, voice carrying across the garden with an eerie clarity. A garden at night. It is like Eden before God bothered to turn the lights on. Everything is secret. Everything is honest in the dark. The detectives barged into the conversation. Okay, the first detective snapped, his patience finally snapping like a dry quid. Okay, Maud, is there anything you're going to actually say that has to do with DeBella or the Chief Ratman, or is this just going to be another collection of poetic things we didn't ask for? The other detective chimed in, stepping forward into the moonlight. Again, look, if you want us to come back to deal with this stuff, we can do that. But right now, we are very much here about these two specific names. Can we focus? The woman rose, her skirt sweeping again across the damp moss. She turned to face them, her eyes flashing with a dramatic, unhinged amusement. She was a woman who inhaled drama like oxygen. My, she purred. Down here, in the dark roots of the world, we do indeed speak a little differently. A bit theatrical, a bit macabre. But don't forget, detectives, you were the ones who came ringing our bell tonight, begging for the truth. Being such choosy beggars, you must remember that to entertain the goose you have to make peace with the gander. The detectives threw their hands up, a simultaneous gesture of utter bewilderment. Okay, the first one growled. I don't know what that means, but you are right. So, how do I, say yes? How do I activate this? Go. Talk. The thing. Maud smiled. A thin, sharp victory of a smile. Good. She turned immediately, marching toward the center of the garden, where a moss-covered mausoleum stood like a brooding tooth in the darkness. She didn't hesitate. She reached into the crevice in the stone and pressed a hidden mechanism. With a groan of ancient gears and the grinding of centuries-old earth, a stone staircase revealed itself, spiraling down into an abyss that smelled of wet clay and forgotten things. The detectives stood gobsmacked. Wait, what are you doing? The first one shouted. Showing you, she said, her tone as matter-of-fact as a clerk giving a receipt. Showing us what? Showing you why you came here, she replied with a triumphant smile. She didn't look back as she began to descend into the black. The two detectives stood at the edge of the stone stairs, staring down into the throat of the house. They turned to each other, their voices urgent, hushed, and frantic. I see. We had to kind of entertain it. Encourage it, the other corrected, eyes wide. Yes, encourage it, the first one agreed, nodding rapidly. And look, the other pointed at the stairs. It's underground, like they said. Oh yeah, the first muttered, gears finally turning. They sure did. They said it was under. We should probably, the other started. Oh yeah, the first realized. Go follow her. Without a word, without another word, they dove into the darkness, chasing the woman down the stone steps, their footsteps echoing against the damp walls as they descended toward the truth they had been hunting since they first crossed the county line. That was long, dude. Was that like an hour? That was like an hour of reading. That's crazy. Do we move on to part 2? Wow, this was a lot of reading. I'm getting into the groove of it though. I didn't do well in the accents. I often don't because I'm like, oh, how do I make them different? Don't forget to scroll down. This is the bottom. But good points, good points. Okay. I guess part 2. Let us continue. Maybe we should do like a break time activity. I'm just feeling fatigued. We did connections already. Do you want to know what Google Translate thinks the name of the manor is? Yes, please. That would be helpful and illuminating. The beautiful nightmare where my blood will remain. Ooh, okay. Love that. Love that. Yeah, I'm actually getting a fatigue headache because it feels kind of feverish. That makes sense. I was really tired today. And I was like, well, I was really excited to do this stream. So it's happening still. Yeah, I don't know. My symptoms lately have been brief, like short-lived. I'll feel sick for a day and then I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up feeling refreshed. What a crazy world. It's like my body just needs to like get it over with. It just needs to throw a little tantrum and then it's done. I would consider myself basically recovered. I don't know that. I haven't tried doing like a job or anything regular outside of the house. That would probably be a different story. I don't know. Okay, let's do a daily real quick and then we'll continue. I think, therefore, I am. Blood. Flowers and blood. So I'm seeing a story. I just don't know like what the theme is. I have no idea. Good Mary? That doesn't seem right. Oh my gosh, good. What the heck? What do these words have to do with each other? Make it? No way. Okay, no. Fuck off, bitch. I see navel. That's not right. Well, let's just try it, because everything about this one is confusing. Oh, wait. Make sense. Makes sense. I really want it to be make sense. But it would be Mac sense. Well, let's try sense. Okay. It's not make it? The heck? Oh, we can make it. I see. Stew? Look at that. Love. Are these just words from a speech? Hate? No. Haste. Yeah, what the heck was that? We can make it. Make hate, make haste, make love, make history. Let's see. Make. Oh, we can make these things. I get it. Make merry, make good, make believe. What the fuck is I think? Oh, I think we can make it. That's a weird hint. Yes, I am gonna run ads and I'm gonna take a little break. And I'll see you in a wee bit.
The hall had become the morning dew. And then when the morning comes, I will see the morning sun, and I wanna be the one. Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Just the two of us. Just.
Oh god, it's right here.
Oh.
Let's go!
Okay, so I guess we can't wait for the vagina. We just can't wait for it. Was that there the whole time? What happened?
He comes up to me and goes, "Meow." And that's it. He doesn't want anything. He's got everything. He just he wants attention is what he wants. And he gets it.
It's funny that Discord didn't get that meow.
Really? Meow. How about now?
Bye, friends. We will see you next week.
Bye, friends. Bye.
Have a good one, everyone.
What a grumpy man. Oh my god, go. Okay, bye.
I think that's the last clip. Okay. Yeah, let us continue with our creepy ass fucking mansion. I don't know, I'm having fun. It's just, I really said I couldn't stop whenever I want. Oh, I sure did. Because I was like, oh, I want to do it in one go, and I obviously can't do it in one go. There's obviously like way more to this than I thought. I mean, I should have figured based on the quote, like, I wrote a book and it's a game. Like, usually don't say book if it's just like a collection of stories, unless the collection of stories is a lot. Part 2. The stone staircase was a spiral of claustrophobia, a winding throat of masonry that seemed to stretch into the very marrow of the earth. With every step, the air grew heavy, thick with the scent of wet slate and the metallic tang of deep, undisturbed mineral deposits. The detectives descended for what felt like miles, their shadows dancing grotesquely against the walls, cast by the single, swaying lantern Maud held aloft. The staircase didn't just go down. It lunged downward, a jagged, relentless plummet that made their inner ears thrum with the pressure of the deep. Finally, the stairs gave way to a small, rotted wooden door, its timber grayed by centuries of dampness and slick with a fine velvet mold. Maud pushed it open with a sharp, piercing creak that echoed like a dying animal. Beyond it lay a tunnel, hewn from a raw, unforgiving rock, a jagged, lightless corridor where the walls wept brackish water that pooled in the uneven floor. It was an abyss-like throat, absolute and hungry, where the shadows weren't just the absence of light, but a physical weight that pressed against their clothes. Above them, spaced at agonized intervals, small, iron-caged lamps flickered with a dying, jaundiced glow. Each light stuttered and hissed as they walked beneath it, only to plunge them back into a thick, velvety darkness that felt like a burial shroud draped over their shoulders. They walked until the air turned cold enough to crystallize their breath. They were in a place where time didn't exist, only the relentless, crushing gravity of the earth pulling them deeper into its belly. Suddenly, the rock tunnel opened into a cavernous, vertical shaft dominated by a colossal grain elevator. It was a rusted, skeletal titan of iron and heavy timber, a relic of a time when the dark fens were actually rich with wheat and profit. The detectives stepped into the open grate cage, the metal shivering under their boots. The descent was jarring, rhythmic clanking that rattled their teeth as the structure groaned in protest, lowering them into the dark heart of the facility. Dust, fine, gray, and innocent, and ancient, swirled in the dim light, tasting of dry rot and the ghosts of 1,000 harvests. At the bottom, the elevator lurched to a halt, hitting the floor with a hollow, thundering boom that vibrated up through their boots. They stepped out onto a craggy, uneven path that wound through a labyrinth of natural limestone pillars. The path was narrow, treacherous, and slick with moisture, leading them away from the industrial skeleton and toward a strange, unnatural silence. Finally, Maud stopped. She stood before a makeshift curtain, a patchwork of heavy, moth-eaten velvet and stiff, darkened canvas that blocked the mouth of a small man-made grotto. The fabric was stained with unrecognizable dark blotches, and it hung limp in the stagnant air. Maud didn't move. She didn't speak. She slowly turned to the two detectives, her face illuminated by the flickering, sickly light of a nearby lamp. Her eyes were hard, unblinking, and entirely devoid of the theatrical mirth she displayed in the garden. They were the eyes of a woman who had finally arrived at the altar. She locked her gaze with theirs, a long, weighted look that seemed to challenge them to turn back one final time. She gave a single, slow, deliberate nod, a gesture of grim invitation, and reached out a pale, trembling hand. She gripped the rough edge of the curtain and pulled it back, revealing the room that lay behind it. Part 3. The detectives stood before the curtain, their faces twisted into masks of incredulous fury. Maud pulled away the heavy, moth-eaten fabric to reveal nothing. Darkness. Nothing but a flat, abysmal wall of absolute, ink-stained blackness. "Oh my God!" the first detective roared, his voice cracking against the damp stone. "Nothing? Nothing! We spent hours descending into the center of the earth for nothing!" You are being so quiet, so mysterious. All, follow me, but I'm using my eyes to say that. The other detective snapped, his face reddening. Yeah, and it took so long. My legs are killing me, and for what? A hole? I was going to say that took a lifetime and a half, the first one countered, pacing in a tight circle. Really? And nothing? It's just your same insane cryptic poetry. What is the void? Your family inheritance. Oh, right. Like, it's my daddy's void. The one that meant the world to him. Maud remained standing by the curtain, her hand still gripping the rough fabric, but her expression had curdled. Her regal, theatrical veneer was cracking, replaced by a raw, jagged agitation as she watched them mock the sanctity of the space. Her lip trembled, not with fear, but with a cold, sharpening resentment. The detectives were mid-laugh, their voices harsh and jagged in the tomb-like air, when the first one's eye caught a flicker in the periphery. His laughter died in his throat, turning into a wet, sharp intake of air. He went stone silent. The other detective caught the shift. He stopped mid-jeer and followed his partner's gaze. In the heart of that absolute, suffocating void, a tiny pinprick of light had appeared. It was a perfect, electric blue, a color so piercing it felt like an intrusion on their vision. It pulsed. It glowed with a subterranean intensity that made the surrounding rock seem to recede. They went silent. The mockery evaporated, replaced by a sudden, heavy sense of vertigo. They began to move toward it, their steps hesitant, almost reverent. As they approached, the blue dot expanded. It grew wider, brighter, until the azure light flooded their peripheral vision, bleeding into their eyes and consuming the dark. They stepped forward and entered a tiny hidden cubby of a room. It was not a cave. It was a cobalt-colored menagerie. Every surface, every crevice in the room was encrusted with a glowing, translucent rocks in various shapes and sizes. Jagged shards, smooth pebbles, and perfect, shifting geometric blocks. The entire room thrummed with a low-frequency hum that they felt in their teeth rather than heard with their ears. Are these jewels? The first detective whispered, his voice trembling as he reached out a hand. Maud let out a sharp, brittle laugh that echoed off the salt walls. Debella thought so too. The two detectives perked up in astonishment. She gestured toward the largest chunk, a block the size of a human heart. At a glance, it looks like standard blue halite, which gets its color from natural radiation displacing electrons in the crystal lattice. Chemically and structurally, it behaves exactly like ordinary table salt. It dissolves in water, it forms cubic crystals, and it tastes salty. She leaned in, her voice lowering into a dangerous, clinical register. However, this is a theoretical variant we call a chronokinetic vaporite. Daddy just called it Chrona. The heavy blue tint is actually a visual byproduct of Manhattan radiation and gravitational lensing happening at a microscopic scale. The crystal structure is so dense with temporal energy that it bends the light passing through it, shifting it into the blue spectrum. She pointed a long, manicured nail at the surface of the rock. if you look closely at the alternating bands on that chunk, those aren't just layers of sediment. Those are temporal growth rings. The dark blue layers represent periods where the crystal was actively accelerating time around itself, aging rapidly and drawing in trace elements. The clear light layers represent periods where time slowed to a near halt, allowing the crystals to precipitate perfectly without a single impurity. Because it retains these fluctuating fields, holding a chunk of this salt creates a localized time dilation zone. It fractionally warps the fabric of space-time directly surrounding its mass. The first detective's eyes were wide, his breath hitching. In frantic, unthinking panic to capture the information before it slipped from his fraying sanity, he whipped the yellowed handkerchief from his pocket. He snatched a piece of charcoal from the floor and began scribbling, his hand in a blur of motion, desperately etching the direction, vocabulary, concept into the fabric. Maud finished speaking, the silence of the room returning with the force of a hammer. She looked at the two men, her expression unreadable, waiting to see if the weight of the impossible had finally broken them. "Do you understand?" she asked, her voice cold. They nodded in sync, their eyes still locked on the blue, warping light. Maud's smile was not the smile of a host, but the look of a curator watching her exhibits finally reached their inevitable conclusion. She stepped back into the darkness, into the shadows of the azure grotto, her silhouette softening and blurring as if she were made of nothing more substantial than smoke. "Well," she whispered, her voice now fading quietly, "you two had best get going." The detectives exchanged a look of profound, dazed bewilderment. You're not coming with us?" the first detective stammered, his fingers still clutching the handkerchief. She shook her head, a slow, hypnotic movement. "Don't you worry your tired little heads. I shall see you up there." They retreated, the wooden door groaning shut behind them with a finality that resonated in their very marrow. They began the ascent. As they stepped onto the open gray cage of the grain elevator, the rust peeled away like dead skin, revealing gleaming factory-new steel beneath. The cable hummed with fresh, vibrant tension. As they navigated the rock-hewn hallways, the flickering lights blinked out, replaced by brilliant humming gas lamps, then by electric bulbs, then by nothing at all, as the tunnel walls constricted, forcing them to turn sideways to squeeze through the narrowing, jagged trench of the earth. The name Neon Dada does communicate to me the idea that these are not going to be as connected as I'd like them to be. But, I don't know, we've already seen some connection, so we'll see. They began to climb the daunting staircase, but the staircase began to move and change as well. Each step felt shorter, tighter, as if its geometry was trying to eject them like a splinter. Faster and faster as the distance skipped forward, shorter and shorter. Suddenly, a white-hot aperture of light, and they stumbled forward, falling out into the open air, only to find the world had been erased. The garden of dead flowers, the iron gates, the weeping angel knocker, all gone. They stood in the center of an expansive, silent prairie. The dark fens had vanished, replaced by an empty, golden-grassed field that stretched to the horizon under a sky that felt too wide, too clean. They spun around, panicked, searching for the mausoleum, but there was only level, unbroken earth. "Can I help you, gentlemen?" The voice was crisp, cutting through the silence like a razor. They whipped around. A few yards away, a man with a sharp-jawed sat cross-legged on a picnic blanket covered in various midday pickings. His hair was slicked back with the precision of a guillotine blade, and his pencil mustache was a perfectly manicured line of perfection. He was feeding a piece of fruit to a toddler, her eyes darting to the detectives with an unnerving, polished suspicion. The detectives stood frozen, their mouths opening and closing in a rhythmic, useless stutter. "We were," the first detective managed, his eyes darting to the man's expensive, out-of-place suit. "We are," the other echoed, his brain struggling to process the impossible shift in reality. "We are," they finished in unison, their voices thin. "Just leaving," they gasped, turning their backs on the man and his eerie, silent picnic. As they hurried away, the second detective stumbled, his fingers fumbling with a handkerchief. The map to the impossible, which fluttered from his pocket and settled down on the grass behind. They didn't stop. They couldn't. With every step, the sky convulsed. One moment, they were bathed in the searing golden light of high noon. The next, they were shivering in a midnight fog. They saw flashes of a paved road beneath their feet, then thick mud, then the manicured gravel of an estate driveway, then nothing but wild, untamed weeds. The world was flickering, a damaged film reel playing 200 different movies at the same time. When they finally collapsed against the dented door of their sedan, the world stopped its violent oscillation. They stood in the quiet, dusty road, grasping for air. They turned to look back, one last time, at Le Beau Cauchemar au Restaurant Monsong. There was no mansion. There were no white columns, no weeping statues, no grandeur. There was only a sprawling, jagged mound of rubble, charred timber, and shattered stone, overgrown by decades of neglect, looking as if the earth had finally ate the beast. The silence was absolute. The weight of the impossible hung between them, a gravity that neither could name. The first detective slumped against the hood, his chest heaving. He looked at his partner, whose face was a mask of pure, shattered astonishment. "You hungry?" the first one asked, his voice barely a whisper. The other detective stared at the pile of debris, his eyes wide and hollow. "I could eat." Infinite lunch. They're hungry. I hope you're hungry. For nothing. Oh, I wanted, I didn't get time, but I wanted to, make my, audio cues buttons so that we could do the yum, 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 I love a tasty dinner. Okay, wait. Okay, so scroll to the bottom. Aha! This is it. Course clear, order another. The short goodbye! A whole story and still don't even know their names. Wait, did one of them start off as you? Am I the other one? Is this an author insert? Wait, what is happening? The 7th letter is R. Okay, wait, so there's a new one. Okay, I'm gonna have to look at the chat that I already did. where did I put it? I literally wrote, oh, third letter N. Thank you so much. Okay. 7th letter. Here, I'll put it in caps again. Letter. What did it say? I already forgot. R. Cool. I don't understand the short goodbye. Is this an author insert? I would say his name, but I am not going to do that. So I won't say, is this you? Okay. Are you a goblin? Oh wait, sorry. So, anything I can get you? Soda. Ooh, also, which was that? That was, I'm still looking? Okay. So I assume you're on a whole new word. The Roy G. Biv was the last round, and now we are on a new round. Yes, I assume so. The Dawn Wardens were walking to class. This sentence would have horrified all 4 of them 6 months later. The mighty warrior Daviler adjusted a backpack covered in mandatory school patches. The legendary knight Stagler carried 3 textbooks and a color-coded course schedule. Winifred was drinking something fluorescent from a giant cup labeled Extreme Mana Blast. And Trundle looked like a criminal who had stolen a teenager. He wore a backwards hat, a chain wallet, a shirt that read Skate or Die. Nobody knew what skating was, least of all Trundle. The goblin was pushing a wooden skateboard sideways beside him so that the wheels awkwardly dragged horizontally instead of rolling. I'm pretty sure this is the funniest image I will ever be able to create. That's funny. How do I look? You look diseased. Said, now you're combining the Dawn Wardens with the bros. True. You look diseased, said Daviler. You look like an old toad, said Stagler. Trundle nodded confidently. Exactly. The others stared. The goblin pointed at himself. Freshman. No. Cool freshman. Less. Popular freshman. Significantly less. Trundle frowned. You guys don't understand youth culture. You are 83. Goblin years are different. They aren't. They really aren't at all. The sprawling campus of the County Road 42 Industrial Park Academy for Magical Students on Non-Magical Instruction stretched before them. Okay, I feel like this is a code for some reason. CR42 IPA NMI. Oh, MS NMI. Does that spell anything? Obviously not in that order, but like mixed up. The institution sat between a fertilizer warehouse and a lumber mill. Its founder had once famously said, "Magic students already know magic. Somebody should teach them algebra." The kingdom had somehow agreed. Thus, the most prestigious educational institution in the world was a school where wizards learned accounting. Necromancers took social studies. Sorcerers studied biology. Students capable of opening portals between dimensions routinely failed introductory economics. Nobody was happy. The Dawn Wardens certainly weren't. 3 weeks earlier, they'd learned a horrifying truth. The hollowing. The plague consuming the kingdom. The black fog. The dead forests. The disappearing villages. All of it traced back to a single source. 42 is life, the universe, and everything. True. A grad student. A secret grad student. A graduate student. currently attending this school. Nobody knew which graduate student, only that somewhere on a campus, a grad student from the darkness realm was working on a thesis and accidentally destroying civilization. Thus, the Dawn Wardens had infiltrated the academy. Their mission? Find the grad student. Do something? Save world. Simple. Unfortunately, the first day of classes had happened, and now everything was terrible. A group of students passed. One pointed at Trundle. "Hey, skateboard guy!" Trundle froze. The student laughed. "Dude, that's hilarious." His friends laughed too. One gave Trundle a thumbs up. Another asked for a picture. The group moved on. Trundle stood perfectly still. "What just happened?" asked Davler. The goblin's eyes widened. "I think..." A smile slowly appeared across his face. "I think they like me." "No. They absolutely do. No. I think I'm becoming influential. You smell like a trash bag. That's not relevant." A bell rang somewhere across campus. Students began flooding toward classrooms. The Dawn Wardens followed. Stagler checked his schedule. Biology. Winifred checked hers. Introduction to recreational team athletics. What? I don't know. Davler checked hers. Creative problem solving and alternative systems theory. That sounds fake. Winifred looked at Trundle. "What do you have?" The goblin proudly held up his schedule. Everyone stared. "Trundle? Yeah? You somehow enrolled in intro to entrepreneurship. Nice. Advanced sales. Nice. Applied merchandising. Nice. And market expansion strategies." Trundle thought. A slow smile spread across his face. "Oh my God. What? This school has a merchant class." The others immediately started walking away. Above them, unnoticed by the heroes, a figure stood in the window of the graduate students' building, watching. A young man, ordinary clothes, friendly eyes, a stack of books under one arm. He glanced toward Davler, then toward the black fog gathering far beyond the horizon, and sighed. "Oh." The young man rubbed his forehead. "They sent adventurers." He paused. Again. Far below the school, deep beneath the roots of the world, something scratched at a door, and somewhere in the darkness, another eye opened. Part 2. The Dawn Warden sat around a cafeteria table during lunch. Davler sat with her tray untouched. Stagler was reading a thick handbook titled Graduate Student Directory Volume 4. Winifred ate a Caesar salad. Trundle was somehow already surrounded by admirers. 3 students stood by, laughing hysterically. The goblin wasn't even telling jokes. He was trying to sell them things. And this knife here automatically causes freeze effect. The students laughed. "Oh my God, he committed to the bit. That's hilarious." Trundle nodded. "Yes." The students laughed even harder. One of the students approached. "Dude, can I buy one?" Trundle queried, "What?" "The knife." "Yes." The student handed over 3 silver coins. "Oh." Trundle slowly pocketed the money. A realization began spreading across his face. The kind of realization normally associated with supervillains. "Oh. Oh no," said Stagler. "Oh my. No. Oh, absolutely not." The goblin stood. He climbed onto the table. "Attention, students!" The cafeteria quieted. I have inventory. The room erupted. Students cheered. Someone shouted, "Skateboard Goblin!" The entire cafeteria immediately picked up the chant, "Skateboard Goblin! Skateboard Goblin! Skateboard Goblin!" Nobody has ever liked me before. Across campus, in a lecture hall capable of seating 400 students, Davler sat through creative problem solving and alternative systems theory. The professor entered. He wrote a single sentence on the board. "There is always another way." The class waited. Several minutes passed. Finally, a hand rose. "Professor?" "Yes." "What does that mean?" The professor pointed at the sentence. "It means there is always another way." The student nodded. They kept waiting. More time passed. "Is that the lesson?" "Yes." A third student raised their hand. "What if there isn't another way?" The professor slammed a textbook onto the desk. "That is the thinking that will get you cooked!" Everyone jumped. This is Davler's first experience at college. Meanwhile, Stagler was suffering. The knight sat inside introductory biology. He hated everything. The chairs were too small. The students were too loud. The professor was discussing cellular structures. Stagler had personally fought an undead tree king. Now, he was taking notes about mitochondria. He stared out the window. A distant fog bank crept across the horizon. The hollowing, still spreading, still consuming villages, still threatening the world. Nobody here seemed concerned. A student beside him leaned over. "Hey." Stagler looked over. "What? You want to study together later?" The knight blinked. The question had genuinely caught him off guard. "What? You seem smart." "I kill monsters." "Cool. Mostly." "That's awesome. I've buried friends." "Okay, you want to study?" The bell rang. The student stood. "See ya," then left. Stagler remained seated for reasons he couldn't explain. He smiled. Across campus, Winifred had attended exactly 7 minutes of class. Then she discovered Ultimate Frisbee. Not a magical sport involving enchanted flying discs. It's just Ultimate Frisbee. Now she was standing on a field. By mid-afternoon, she was participating in a scrimmage. The end of 3 matches, she was team captain. Back in the cafeteria, Trundle's popularity continued growing. Students gathered around his table, buying random garbage. A broken grappling hook, a cracked compass, a half-drank extreme amino splash. One student purchased an empty box. "For 10 silver?" "Yes." "What does it do?" Trundle shrugged. "It contains mystery." Elsewhere, inside the graduate studies building, the grad student watched all of this through a window. The young man sat at a desk stacked with books. His thesis occupied nearly an entire wall. Charts, maps, arcane diagrams, complex calculations. The sort of work produced by somebody very intelligent. Or deeply unwell. Possibly both. He watched Davler crossing the courtyard, students passing around her, talking, laughing, living. The grad student sighed. "Okay." He opened a notebook. A list had been written inside. "Things I didn't expect." He added another item. "Adventurers immediately becoming distracted by college." He paused, then added, "Actually, this should have been first." A knock came at the door. The grad student looked up. Another graduate student entered. A woman carrying 6 books and visible despair. Hey, how's your dissertation?" The grad student stared. "Terrible." "Same." I accidentally unleashed a civilization-ending corruption. The woman nodded sympathetically. I accidentally made the seventh link invisible. The grad student considered this. Both sat quietly. The woman finally stood. Good talk. Good talk. She left. The grad student returned to staring out the window. At Davler, at the school, at the distant black fog. He looked guilty. Deep beneath the kingdom, far below the foundations of the university, far below the roots of mountains, far below reason, a massive stone door trembled. Something scratched on the other side. Okay. Wasn't there a stone door? I don't remember. There's been a stone door in all of them. The Dawn Wardens had held an emergency meeting. The emergency was that they had completely forgotten to investigate the grad student. The meeting took place in their dorm room. Nobody had unpacked weapons, armor, backpacks, dirty laundry, half-finished assignments. Everything sat in piles around the room. A giant map of campus had been nailed to the wall. Focus, Stagler said. We have a mission. Nobody responded. Hello? Davler looked up. Oh, right. The grad student. Stagler pointed dramatically at the map. We need suspects. This is the worst investigation I've ever been part of. To be fair, said Winifred, most investigations start with a crime. The world is ending. Yeah, but that's kind of broad. A knock sounded at the door. 3 students entered. Skateboard goblin! Trundle immediately stood and made a gross goblin snort. My people! The students handed him flyers. One was for a party. One was for student government elections. One was for something called Goblin Appreciation Week. Trundle hugged the flyers like precious gifts. The students laughed. The group watched this in disbelief. What is happening? Asked Winifred. Stagler rubbed his temples. This is somehow making him stronger. Good for him, said Davler. No. Across campus, Winifred had missed another class, and another, and another. She now spent almost all her time with the Ultimate Frisbee team. The team loved her. The team gathered around before a game. Winifred stepped into the center of the huddle, immediately becoming way too intense. Listen to me. We are more than athletes. We are dreamers. We are storytellers. Winifred pointed dramatically toward the field. Every story begins with people doubting themselves. Do you think the heroes of Cross on 10 gave up? No. She pointed again. They believed. Winifred raised a fist. Now go out there and throw that frisbee! The team erupted. They sprinted onto the field. Winifred smiled proudly. I've changed lives. Meanwhile, Stagler sat alone in the library, studying, or attempting to. The biology textbook remained open. He sighed. A familiar voice interrupted. Hey, Stagler looked up. It was the student from biology, the one who asked him to study. She carried a stack of books. Oh. Hey, she sat down. What are you working on? The knight looked at the textbook, then looked at her, then looked at the textbook, then back at her. Cells. She nodded. Cool. An awkward silence followed. The student began looking through a script she had. Stagler noticed. What are you doing? She looked up. Practicing? What does that mean? What? The girl asked. What is practicing? You don't know what practicing means? I know what training means. That's practicing. Then why didn't you say training? The girl laughed. The knight smiled, which was becoming a problem. I'm auditioning for a play. A what? A play. I don't know what that means. The girl laughed again. You've never seen a play? No, not once. I vanquished Yggdrasil class Netherkind. Is that like a play? The girl laughed. Not really. A play is like a story. It's a book? Kind of. It's like a book you perform in front of people. Yes. Voluntarily? Yes. That's insane. It's fun. Stagler looked unconvinced. She handed him her script. Read this. The knight glanced down. Words, dialogue, characters, scenes, a title. The Seagull. He read quietly, then read them longer, then longer still. The girl watched Stagler. Eventually, she noticed something. The giant warrior wasn't skimming. He was studying every word, carefully, like a soldier reading battle plans. What do you think? Stagler looked up. There was a strange expression on his face. I think everyone seems unhappy. The girl laughed. Yeah. They all want things they can't have. Yeah. They seem aware they're running out of time. Oh, they all want things they can't have. Yeah. They seem aware they're running out of time. Yeah. And nobody knows what to do about it. Yeah. Stagler looked back down at the script. For a moment, he seemed very far away. That's familiar. The girl smiled. My name's Eleanor. Stagler. I know. He puzzled. You do? Everybody knows. Why? You wear armor to SOC 101. Of course. What if raiders attack? She giggled and started to leave. I'm going to audition. She paused. You should too. No. Why not? I don't belong in plays. Neither does Dorn. Who? Who? The character. Stagler looked back at the pages. The student smiled, then left. The knight remained seated, staring at the script, reading the same page again and again and again. Across campus, Davler sat outside after class, thinking. The lecture from earlier still echoed in her head. There is always another way. The sentence annoyed her, mostly because she couldn't stop thinking about it. A voice interrupted. Mind if I sit here? Davler looked up. The graduate student stood nearby, books tucked under one arm. Friendly smile. The same young man who had watched her from the window. Oh, sure. He sat. For a moment neither spoke. He finally broke the silence. How are you liking school? Davler considered. I don't know. That's a very college answer. You've been here a while? The young man laughed. Longer than I intended. What's your field? He looked uncomfortable. Complicated systems. What does that mean? He thought, then smiled. It means people create rules. Okay? And then those rules become prisons. Davler frowned. The graduate student continued. Then everybody spends generations convincing themselves the prison is normal. That sounds depressing. It can be. He pointed toward the classroom buildings. What if every solution people believed in was wrong? What? What if there was always another way? Davler stared. The exact same phrase again. The graduate student stood, gathering his books. See you around. Then he left. Davler watched him go. Something about the conversation lingered, like a splinter, or a warning, or maybe an invitation. Back at the dorm, Trundle burst through the door, covered in flyers, carrying 3 pizzas, wearing sunglasses indoors. The others looked up. What happened to you? The goblin lowered his sunglasses like a cool dude. Sup, nerds? I've been nominated for student representative. Silence. You don't know what that means, do you? Trundle pointed at himself. They said I was the voice of a generation. Stagler closed his eyes. Winifred exhaled. Davler slowly lowered her head into her hands. Outside, far beyond campus, the black fog continued spreading. Village after village disappeared beneath it. The hollowing grew patiently, relentlessly, while the people destined to stop it argued about student elections. 3 weeks passed. This was bad. Not because the world was ending. That had been happening for a while. This was bad because the Dawn Wardens had now attended through enough college to start having opinions about it. The grad student investigation had completely stalled. The giant map still hung in the dorm room. The map now mostly tracked voter demographics for Trundle's campaign. Okay, so I know... Oh my god, we're doing another ad break soon? That's crazy. It's been an hour reading half of this. Holy shit. Does that mean there's another hour left in this section? Across campus, the Ultimate Frisbee team was undefeated. The players gathered around Winifred. They now treated her with the reverence normally reserved for prophets or cult leaders, or really successful fitness influencers. Winifred stood before them, holding a frisbee. The wind caught her hair dramatically. She had not intended this. It just kept happening. My friends, my captain, the team spoke together. Today isn't about winning. Moments later, they won by 14 points. That evening, the team invited Winifred to a party, then another party, then another. By the end of the week, she had missed 6 more classes. She was now lying in a hammock behind a dormitory, wearing sunglasses, drinking lemonade. Might help if it was broken up more often. Yeah, if I took breaks more often, yeah, because I just did a whole hour just straight through. Oh, I forgot to pause the music. See? This is what happens. A teammate sat beside her. Are you going to class today? Winifred looked at the sky. No. Cool. Yeah. Want to skip tomorrow too? Winifred considered. Probably. The teammate nodded. Nice. Winifred nodded. Nice. It was the most relaxed she had been in years. Elsewhere, Stagler stood outside the theater building, holding a script, looking deeply unhappy. Not because he disliked the script. The opposite. He liked it, which was worse. Eleanor stood beside him. You nervous? No. You seem nervous. I once fought a rock troll while poisoned. That's not what I asked. Stagler looked at the audition room. People were laughing inside, talking, having fun. It all seemed deeply suspicious. What if I fail? Eleanor nodded. There it is. What? The real thing. What real thing? The thing you're actually worried about. Stagler looked pensive. The doors opened. Students began entering. Eleanor smiled. Come on. Inside, the auditions were chaos. Students forgetting lines, not trying, overacting. Stagler watched, confused. They're terrible. Eleanor laughed. Most people are. And why are we here? They want to try anyway. This answer bothered him. The knight had spent his life doing things because they were necessary. duty, responsibility, survival. The idea of doing something because you wanted to was almost offensive. When his turn came, he stepped onto the stage. The director looked up. Oh. Stagler waited. The director waited. Finally, "Are you here for security?" "No." "Oh. Are you auditioning?" "Yes." The director looked delighted. Stagler read, at first awkwardly, then carefully, then sincerely. The room grew quiet. The night spoke Doran's words. Words about aging, about disappointment, about watching life happen while being unable to stop it, about time, about loss, about knowing how everything ends. For the first time, Stagler wasn't reading. He was remembering. Dead friends. Lost battles. Empty villages. Years spent trying to save people. Years spent failing. The room remained silent when he finished. The director stared. Eleanor stared. Everyone stared. The director slowly lowered his pen. My God. Stagler furrowed his brow. I have dishonored myself, haven't I? No! The director struck back. Where have you been? Mostly forests. You're Dorn. What? You're absolutely Dorn. Stagler looked confused. Eleanor looked thrilled. The rest of the students... How about misinformed pact? Oh, for all of the letters? I don't even remember what they were again. Misinformed pact. Yeah, I mean, that works. God, you're so good at this. Crypto stolen. Get wrecked. Yeah. That does look pretty crazy. Third letter N. Seventh letter F. Okay. The rest of the students slowly began clapping, happy for his success, and confused at the utter unprofessionalism of the director announcing casting choice during auditions in front of the auditioneers. Across campus, Davler kept running into the graduate student. At first accidentally, then less accidentally, then very obviously on purpose. They sat on benches, walked between buildings, talked after class. The grad student was funny. Davler hated how much she enjoyed talking to him. One afternoon, they sat beneath a tree. Students crossed the quad. The graduate student pointed at them. Look at that. What? Everybody's pretending. I don't understand. Nobody knows what they're doing. They seem like they do. No, he pointed again. That guy switched majors 3 times. Davler looked. How do you know that? I know lots of things. He looked toward the distant fog on the horizon. The smile faded slightly. There's no music, right? Okay, good. At lunch, one student approached nervously. Trundle was literally chewing on an empty metal can with his sharp teeth so hard that sparks were flying onto nearby tables like a welding demonstration. Trundle? The goblin looked up and crowed like a dinosaur. I think my girlfriend wants to break up with me. The goblin thought for a moment, stood up, and started dancing on the table and clanking the can with a fork, cackling and laughing loudly as he jumped between tables, dancing a frightening jig. He then sang a sick little song in a high-pitched broken register. Grabby feety fiddly fee, a goblin's life is wild and free. To dance a jig of grobbly goo is a goblin's gift to weebly woo. The student bought 3 grappling hooks from Trundle. At night, Trundle could be seen behind dormitories, eating rats, making strange goblin noises. The student body watched enviously and called this his grind set. Back in the dorm, another emergency meeting began. Stagler entered carrying his script. Winifred entered carrying a frisbee. Davler entered carrying 2 coffees. Trundle was eating a fedora. Nobody spoke. Finally, Stagler sighed. The grad student. Oh, right, said Winifred. The grad student, said Davler. Trundle nodded as he chewed. What do we actually know? Said Stagler. Davler hesitated. Maybe I know something? Everyone turned. What? I've been talking to a graduate student. Stagler narrowed his eyes. A suspect? What? Well, he's the grad student. They all look in shock. What? How do you know? Stagler asked. He told me like pretty early on with us chatting. Wow, that's embarrassing, Trundle said, grabbing a second fedora to start in on. Outside, beyond the school, the hollowing reached another town. The black fog rolled through empty streets. Doors swung open. Lights went dark. The corruption spread. Faster now, not waiting anymore. And deep beneath the kingdom, the crack in the ancient stone door widened. Something pushed against it, not scratching anymore. Pushing. Hard. For the first time, a hand emerged. Back at the dorm, everyone stared at Davler. You knew he was the grad student? Asked Stagler. Yeah. For weeks? Yeah. And you didn't tell us? Davler shrugged. He seemed nice. The room exploded. He's a grad student! He's in grad school! That's worse! I don't think that's worse! It's definitely worse! Trundle swallowed the last of the fedora. The entire thing, brim and all. Honestly, he said, graduate students scared me more than demons. And you hate demons. I do hate demons. Thank you, said Winifred. Graduate students choose that life. Exactly. Stagler stood. We are losing focus. Fair. We need to confront him. Fair. We need answers. Fair. We need... A knock interrupted him. The door opened. 20 students stood outside, all wearing skirts that read, Trundle 2K8, skateboard goblin for the people. The students cheered. We love you, Trundle! The goblin immediately forgot the conversation. Acceptance! Trundle cried out. The students carried him away. Trundle! 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 The door closed. Silence. Finally, Stagler sighed. I hate this place. The next afternoon, Davler found the grad student sitting beneath a tree, reading. He immediately smiled when he saw her. Hey. Hey. Davler sat down. The grad student closed his book. What's wrong? Davler cocked her head. How do you know something was wrong? Because you sat down like somebody preparing for a duel. That's fair. The grad student nodded. What's up? Davler looked at him, then sighed. My friends want to interrogate you. The grad student nodded. Reasonable. You don't seem concerned. I am a grad student. Right. They're supposed to interrogate me. Right. They're actually running behind schedule. Davler laughed despite herself. The grad student smiled, then looked away, toward the distant black fog. The hollowing, growing larger every day. His smile faded. How bad is it? Davler asked quietly. The grad student didn't answer immediately, which was answer enough. Eventually, worse than they're telling people. Davler's stomach sank. Can it be stopped? The grad student stared at the horizon, then said something strange. Maybe. Maybe? Maybe. That's not reassuring. No. You're doing that thing again. What thing? The thing where you know something. The grad student laughed. Yeah. I hate that thing. Most people do. I can feel myself getting real heavy, the palpitations, the chest heaviness, the headache, the sore throat. Actually, I had a sore throat yesterday. Now I don't. Yeah. Depends on how you structure it too. 6 hours is a long stream. A lot of people just go through 2 to 3 hours. Yeah. That would be normal, wouldn't it? We appreciate the effort too, but don't knock yourself for a loop just to keep going. I know. I promise I don't do it for you. Hopefully that's not offensive, but I definitely do it for me. I like streaming a lot, and I'm really liking reading this. I want to play more. I am wondering, like, there are clues towards things. This is definitely gonna be way longer than I thought. I really thought that it would just be 1 VOD. Or like 2 VODs. But this section has 3 more, like, stories in it, or maybe 2 more stories in it. And then it's already hinted at there being another code. So there's definitely, like, way more. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there are parts, but, like, they're broken up like TV episodes where they end at exactly the points you want to keep going. Like, they don't end at points where you're like, okay, I can be done. They end at like they start to descend down the staircase into the like beneath the ground, and you're like, Okay, what happens next, dude? Which, I mean, is a strat. Right, you have to write the story to fit into the 25-minute break, so you have time for commercials. Yeah, true. It's like commercial breaks. It's like exactly when you want to keep going, that's where the breaks are. And you're like, well, obviously I want to move on to part 2. Obviously. Okay. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Dabbler asked, "Why are you helping us?" The grad student thought, then smiled. "Because we're all in this together." Meanwhile, Winifred had become a problem. Regionals. Winifred stared at them, holding a smoothie, wearing sunglasses. What if I don't feel like giving a speech? The team looked confused. Winifred considered, then nodded. Yeah, actually, that's kind of freeing. The team leaned forward. What do we do? Winifred shrugged. Not this. This is boring. The team agreed, and they got back on the bus, which Winifred just started driving back herself, leaving the hired bus driver questioning the decision to leave the key in the ignition. Across campus, Stagler attended his first rehearsal. Just checking the music levels again. They sat together during a break. The cast chatted nearby, laughing, eating snacks, living ordinary lives. Stagler watched them. They seem happy. They are. How? Eleanor laughed. What do you mean, how? The world is ending. Oh. Well, the world is always ending. Yeah. But here we are, right? Yeah. Here we are. The stage manager announced 5 minutes left of break. Thank you, 5, the cast said in unison, including Stagler, who smiled to himself. Okay, something River does that I think is like, I guess it's not cringe to anyone else. Like, to anyone else, they just don't know like what he's doing. But he's such a theater kid that when told that an establishment is closing in 10 minutes or whatever, he says, "Thank you, 10." And I'm like, that's not something people just say. Elsewhere, the goblin sat on a stage, a debate taking place. His opponent was an honor student, student body president, top honors, respected. The moderator pointed. Mr. Trundle. The goblin had collected various bones from small animal carcasses on campus to construct a makeshift drum kit. He was playing and screaming over the percussion fiercely. I'm not gonna scream right now. It's just like, imagine he's screaming. What are your plans for campus improvement? Trundle thought, then pointed up. More ladders! Then went back. Well, actually, it doesn't say "got," it says he. Then went back to playing his homemade macabre instrument. The audience exploded into applause. Can you elaborate? The moderator asked. No, Trundle said, and began gnawing on one of the bone drumsticks that still had a piece of rotted meat attached. Thunderous applause. The honors student slowly lowered his notes. Bro, I'm cooked. He pointed to Trundle. Dude, I'm voting for this little freak. The crowd went insane. That night, the Dawn Wardens finally confronted the grad student. He sat in the graduate studies building, waiting, coffee in hand, several books scattered around him. The Dawn Wardens entered, minus Trundle, who had been invited to give a guest lecture on the value of shivs. The Dawn Wardens entered, minus Trundle, who had been invited to give a guest lecture on the value of shivs. Oh, guns. Yeah, I don't know. The grad student nodded. Okay. Interrogation. Stagler leaned forward. What caused the hollowing? The grad student stared at the table, then spoke. I did. I didn't mean to. I was trying to solve something. What? Asked Daviler. The grad student hesitated, then answered. Oh, what? The end of the world. The room fell silent. I thought there had to be another way. His voice grew quieter. And eventually I found one. I think those are gunshots, actually. I mean, we can't see where it is. Don't assume that. That's horrible. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to assume. Yeah, dude. I actually just wanted to type those 2 words. How tired are you right now? Or are you just amped from the Game Jam meeting? He just got done, well, I guess it was a few hours ago now, but he had his first meeting with his team for a Game Jam he's doing. And it's his first ever. He's never made a video game before. Amped a bit, tired a bit. The people stuck around and we talked a bit. Oh, lovely. Okay. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon. The black fog shifted, growing, moving, watching. Somewhere beneath the kingdom, the figure finally burst free. Stone exploded, chains shattered. The massive door flew from its hinges. The figure stumbled into the darkness, coughed, brushed dust from its clothes, then looked around. The creature wasn't terrifying. It wasn't monstrous. It wasn't eldritch. It was wearing a cheap suit and carrying a briefcase. Sorry, that's just... I think I just heard like 7 consecutive shots. I think I'm still hearing shots. Am I crazy? And they're getting further away? They all want to do big 3D games and cute ideas, and I'm like, please no, it's my first one. Oh man. I think it'd be cool to learn. But also, yeah, I don't know, amateur 3D games, I feel is that they look cheapy bad. What do I know? To be clear, we don't hear gunshots here. Like, this isn't like a normal occurrence. That's why I'm like, holy fuck, what? It was wearing a cheap suit and carrying a briefcase. The thing checked a pocket watch. The creature looked upward, toward the kingdom, toward the university, toward the growing disaster. Okay, This is gonna be awkward. Part 3. Okay, this one's shorter. This one's shorter. The room remained silent. The grad student stared at the table. Nobody knew what to say. Finally, Winifred spoke. So, everyone looked at her. So, you made the hollowing to stop the end of the world? The grad student rubbed his eyes. That's an oversimplification. Okay, that's honestly what you said. Okay, yeah, that is true. Okay then. Dabbler leaned forward. What exactly does that mean? I found something. What? A place. The room waited. A place hidden from everything. Nobody liked the sound of that. I think it is a source. A source of what? Asked Stagler. The grad student continued. The universe has rules. Okay? And every rule has exceptions. Okay? And every exception has a cost. Nobody spoke. The grad student looked toward the window, toward the distant fog. I found a way to postpone payment. The room became even quieter, which felt impossible. Then, and I should get one, right? What? Said Winifred. Sorry, if I set up enough, I should, right? What are you talking about? It will take some time, but I should. Sorry. What is happening? I'm forgetting when I am. When you are? Sorry, that's more confusing, isn't it? Stagler stood. What happens now? The grad student answered immediately. It's time to stop the hollowing. The man in a cheap suit walked into town. He stopped, looked around. Interesting. The town was empty. Not abandoned, consumed. Buildings remained. Roads remained. Signs remained. But people were gone. The suited man adjusted his tie. That is concerning. A moment later, he spotted movement. A black shape crossing a distant street. The hollowing. The fog stopped, turned, looked at him. The suited man stared back. The fog immediately left, retreating over rooftops, disappearing into the distance. Huh. He opened his briefcase, removed a notebook, wrote something down, then continued walking. How do we do that? Stagler asked. Then a knock came at the door. A very normal knock. 3 taps. Patient. Professional. Everyone looked over. The knock came again. The grad student stood, slowly. The grad student walked over, opened it. A man stood outside. Cheap suit, briefcase. Friendly smile. The man looked inside, counted the people in the room, nodded. Excellent. Nobody said anything. The man extended a hand. "My name is Jimmy Dove." Silence. Jimmy slowly lowered the hand. "That means more than you'd think." Jimmy pointed at the grad student. "You." The grad student looked away. Jimmy nodded. "Yeah, that's about the reaction I expected." Winifred raised a hand. "Who are you?" Jimmy looked surprised. "Nobody told you?" The group looked at the grad student. The grad student suddenly found the floor very interesting. Jimmy sighed. "Of course he didn't." Stagler stepped forward. "Answer the question." Jimmy smiled. "I fix mistakes." The grad student groaned. Jimmy pointed. "Specifically, his mistakes." "I might have overdone it." "You caused an existential collapse." "Well, I am sorry for that." The grad student crossed his arms. Jimmy turned back toward the Dawn Wardens. "I'm what you might call an auditor." Nobody knew what that meant. Jimmy considered. "Imagine reality is a business." "Okay," said Winifred. "Bad start." "Agreed." Jimmy continued anyway. "Now, imagine somebody lit the accounting department on fire." Everyone pointed at the grad student. The grad student looked offended. Jimmy pointed, too. "Correct." Jimmy opened his briefcase. Inside were hundreds of folders. Thousands, possibly millions. The briefcase should not have been physically capable of containing them. Jimmy removed one. It was labeled, "The Hollowing." The grad student sank lower into his chair. Jimmy opened the file. Several pages immediately burst into flames. Jimmy sighed. That's new. He made a note. The fire stopped. Jimmy continued reading. "Okay." "What?" asked Dabbler. Jimmy looked up. "The good news is, the world isn't doomed." Everyone relaxed. "The bad news is, we're approaching the kind of catastrophe that gets remembered forever." Everyone unrelaxed. Jimmy pointed to the window. "The Hollowing isn't a creature. It's not a curse. It's not evil. It's something the grad student created trying to solve a different problem. A big problem. Jeff created something that looks like a threat, but is actually a timer. And because of your involvement distracting him, that timer is running out as we speak," Jimmy said as he pointed to the grad student. The room took a beat. "Jeff?" Jimmy looked puzzled. "Yeah, he's Jeff. I thought you all were doing a bit calling him grad student." "Yeah, I'm Jeff. Hi, I guess." The grad student waved sheepishly. Across campus, a banner was being hung over the main courtyard. It stretched between two towers. Hundreds of students gathered below, cheering, celebrating. The banner read, "Rad's Fast Fluke this Thursday." I'm sorry, what? Rad's Fast Fluke. Oh man, another code. No, thank you, dude. I'm gonna need a notebook for this shit. Alright. We're doing it. Special. I feel like we were supposed to get the word special from somewhere else as well. That's just how I look. Third letter N. Seventh letter R. True. R. This shit. There's no N in there, so I don't think that's a scrambled something or other. It's form packed 42. Okay. And then Professor Trundle? Hang on. I'm loving this plot, this subplot where the goblin is gaining notoriety for being an absolute actual goblin. I think it's really funny. Okay. So, formal attire required, organized in honor of Professor Trundle. Rehearsal later. Rehearsal continued. Stagler sat alone on the stage, reading. The theater had emptied hours ago. The script sat open in his lap. He stared at a page, then another, then another. Eventually, Eleanor appeared. You still here? Yes. You know rehearsal ended? Yes. She sat beside him. Neither spoke for a while. Then Stagler looked out toward the empty seats. The world is ending. Probably. And we're putting on a play. Yeah. And millions of people lived before us. Yeah. And millions will live after us. Hopefully. Stagler nodded. And I think we are all Dorn. And the next generation is our Treplev. And we are all desperately trying to tell them the reason to carry on, even though we know it not ourselves. And we all were waiting for the adult in the room to show up until we realized we are the adults in the room. And we are so sorry. We are sorry for how things are, though most of us are simply too proud to admit this staggering truth. Every moment of every day, thousands of horrible and beautiful things happen all over this world. And that's why it can't just be one thing. It's never been just one thing. Because, yes, the world is ending. But it's always been ending. And it's also starting and in the middle. And terrible and wonderful. It's everything. Don't you agree? That evening, Winifred sat in a hammock, surrounded by ultimate frisbee players. Several had stopped attending class entirely. Nobody was sure when this happened. One student pointed at the sky. What if none of this matters? Another nodded. Yeah. What if existence is inherently meaningless? A third student sighed. Deep. Winifred sat up. Actually, the group looked over. Winifred pointed toward the campus, toward the banners, toward the giant preparations underway, toward the dance. If existence is meaningless, the students nodded, then we should absolutely go to this dance. The students considered this. I know the gross little gremlin who's putting it on, and this campus loves that little guy, even though he is literally the dumbest thing I've ever met. Within minutes, the entire group was making plans for the dance. Finding outfits, arranging transportation, arguing about corsages. Winifred laid back down. satisfied. Her work here was done. Later that night, everyone gathered back in the dorm. Jimmy closed the file. The room sat quietly, everyone processing. Finally, Winifred spoke. So how do we stop it? Well, the hollowing code is already breaking down, so you've cured us of that. It's the other big bad that is the real danger, Jimmy said, looking at Jeff. So how do we stop the big bad? Asked Daviler. Well, we're hoping to figure that out, said Jeff. We? The group asked, puzzled. We is right. It's not just Jeff and I. Everyone in this room, said Jimmy Dove. And some more who should be arriving shortly, Jeff added. You still haven't answered my question, demanded Daviler. How do we stop the big bad? Jeff looked up at the group and smiled. We stop it together. Trundle centered! Great use of me in the text. I liked all the parts where I added meaningfully to the plot progression. Keep it humble, but add more Trundle. Okay, the first letter is D. Excellent. Sick. And there's nothing else on this page. This is pretty cool. I'm liking this a lot. This is good unsettling music. Yeah, I have a lot of unsettling music for spooky games and such. Yeah, that's that. I will not play this again until next Friday. But be sure you tune in for that. It should be a good time. I don't have any dailies left to do. We could do Gartic on stream if we felt like it, but like I don't really feel like it actually, so we don't have to do that. My next stream will again be co-working on Monday. I have an audition Tuesday, but I don't even have a monologue for. I think I need to cancel it. I forgot that it wasn't just sides, that they also wanted a monologue, and like specifically a dark dramatic monologue, and I don't have one of those. I got comedic and I got dramatic. I don't dark dramatic. I don't even know, like, I guess a lot of what we've been reading has been dark dramatic shit. Alright, I'm gonna hit the raid button so that I don't draw things out. Okay, bye.